talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
A very good afternoon. It is 1 minute past one. Here with your sports headlines, I'm Amelia Beltrao. Victor Gyökeres is making Arsenal a better team, so says boss Mikel Arteta and talkSPORT's Danny Murphy. The striker ended his goal drought with a brace last night. Meanwhile, Murphy's been looking ahead to Liverpool's Champions League clash against Frankfurt later. That's live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. And whether Arne Slot will be forced to make some bold changes, including benching Salah.
I've got a feeling he will, yeah. His lack of defensive effort has always been there because he's been given
but
a
the balance
license.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance, it's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end to forgive him for that.
The Reds have suffered 4 defeats in a row now, plus big money summer signing Florian Wirtz has struggled to make his mark. Now, one player who is impressing pundits at the moment is Harry Maguire, but his future at Man United hangs in the balance with no formal contract extension on the table yet. Gabi Abonglahol says the centre-back deserves one and a spot in the England squad.
He's been out there, he's been giving 100%, and if anyone deserved that winning goal on the weekend against Liverpool, it was Harry Maguire. In his mind as well, he'd be thinking, I want to get back in the England squad. I want to go to the World Cup.
To rugby union, where Sale's Luke Cowan-Dickey has avoided a ban after his red card against Saracens was overturned. England's hooker is free to play in next month's opening autumn international against Australia. And at the Women's Cricket World Cup, England are batting first against holders Australia. How are they looking, John Norman?
It's not looking too positive for England. 161 for 5. They've just lost their 5th wicket with Emma Lamb comprehensively beaten by Sutherland, bowled for 7. It means England are going to be relying on players outside their big 3. We've seen runs from Tammy Beaumont, 20s from Heather Knight and Sophia Dunkley. A rare failure for Nat Sciver-Brunt, the captain. Can England get up to a score around 250? It is looking tough from here. 161 for 5, 38 overs in.
Thanks very much, John. Don't forget, there's loads more content at talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube and channel.
talkSPORT News.
Starmer's on the defensive as accusations fly over the grooming gang's inquiry, and Zelensky takes aim at Trump after Putin's latest killing spree in Ukraine. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Rain or shine, our mobile tyre fitting service comes to you, so you can stay on the sofa this winter. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
A mix of sunshine and showers this afternoon, but turning wetter and windier in the southwest.
You're listening to Max Rushden and one of his little mates on talkSPORT between now and 4. Today it's Charlie Baker, Rushden and Baker, the Hawksby and Jacobs for the Cool Runnings generation. What's coming up today, Charlie?
We'll ask David O'Leary if Arsenal will win everything this season. Lars Sivertson will come on to tell us if there were too many goals in the Champions League last night. And Spencer Oliver and Gareth A. Davis will look ahead to the Fabio Wardley v Joseph Parker fight. Boxing!
Look ahead. Yeah, well, good luck, everybody. We'll look ahead to Sean Dyche's first press conference as Forest manager. It's my job, don't you know? The comedian and Banbury United fan, not more Banbury United, Matt Bragg will tell us about his new
Banbury United
special.
FM?
There are other teams in whatever league they're in, and Crookie's here to round up the transfer gossip. Is the window creeping open already?
Got a good two-word phone-in, good one. Scott Minto will preview Chelsea. Stephen Caulker will preview Liverpool and Spurs. and some EFL as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Charlie.
Afternoon, Max. Torquay 3, Chippenham 0. Let's lead with that, shall we? Last night.
Okay.
A home thrasher. Of course I wasn't there, Max. From Torquay. I'm a busy man. So much work on.
Did you ever get accused? I get accused sometimes of being a plastic Cambridge fan.
Oh, yeah.
As if, if you were a plastic fan, it's such a terrible job. We lost to Barnet in the whatever that's called trophy, which you don't care about. In fact, you actively dislike until about the semi-finals.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly you're like, I'm really
into this.
Can I shock you? Can I shock you? I like this. I like this competition.
Yeah.
And Brett Assombalonga scored for Barnet in the 90th minute. What's he doing at Barnet?
Still playing.
That's not fair.
It's great.
You should be able to say, that's not fair.
That's
when
not
Wes
fair.
Houlihan played for us in League Two in the COVID season, and it wasn't fair.
This is a good text already, Max. Not even the text that we've discussed, but that's not fair is a great lower league text topic. We had Steve McCall play for us once for like 2 seasons in that, and Steve McCall had won the European Cup with Ipswich. Wow. It was like UEFA Cup, I think. We won with Ipswich. It was insane. Even when he was about 42 for us in the midfield, it was like unbelievable. That's not fair. That's great.
Fair. Yeah, we'll take those then.
Yes, please.
This is good. Coming up with content already.
On air, we did a whole meeting.
I suppose that is our job. In some senses, that's our job, isn't it? 8:10:89. It's my job, by the way. Looking forward to Sean Dyche's press conference.
Fantastic.
And I think I'm trying to weigh up. I'm sad that Ange is not in the Premier League, right? Because I love Ange in there. I think that may be it.
You think that ship sailed? You think?
I'm his biggest fan. I'm just not sure which Premier League club is going to go for him now. What would be funny is because West Ham was so bad on Monday, if suddenly they got rid of Nuno and brought in Ange again, and he keeps following Nuno. Wherever Nuno goes, they say, we want you to come in and completely change the style. We're not going to give you enough time. And there's just this Nuno, Ange, Dyche kind of carousel.
I thought West Ham had Ange written all over it, if I'm honest. I thought that's what was going to happen, but it didn't, did it? It didn't.
It didn't happen, but maybe it could happen. We'll see. We'll never know.
We'll never know. As you say, we'll never know.
I suppose at some point we'll know, but we can't make guarantees at this stage.
No way.
So disappointing defeat for us. I know people didn't talk about that game much. The Barnet 3. Cambridge,
not talked about too much. No. Oh, right, okay.
Not
people
enough.
ignoring it again.
15 minutes of it, they'll be useful. But look, there were a lot of goals last night.
Crazy,
weren't there?
Really?
In the Champions League.
I was listening and watching on DAZN Torquay United v Chippenham. And I've caught up with the Arsenal goals and the Newcastle goals. I think there are about 30 other goals I've not seen.
Okay, well, just for you,
yes,
I've actually got. What I've done is I've ranked them all.
Oh, great!
There are 43, so it's a great opportunity to make my audition. Do they still do the hit parade?
I think they still do the charts. But I think it's on a Friday afternoon. Are you busy Friday afternoons, Max?
Am I busy Friday afternoon? I think Friday's my only day off, and for interests of family harmony, it's important that I have Fridays off. I think.
Okay. And that's the only reason you're not doing the charts.
I'm not saying Jamie would divorce me if I suddenly took over the top 40 on a Friday. It would be an odd. Andy in Newport having Baker and Rushden on talkSPORT in the afternoon. That's not fair.
Well, Andy, some people like it. So
no, I quite like that from Andy. I think he's a fan. I took that in the way it was intended, I think. So anyway, look, there were 43 goals. So we have to apologise to Copenhagen because both of their two were the two worst goals.
Okay.
So they don't make the chart. They're 43 and 42, and Victor Gyökeres's his first goal.
Oh, his first.
Was a sort of tackle that made it 3-0.
Yeah.
That doesn't make the top 40, but I have the top 40.
Oh, great.
Now, I'm very interested in listener feedback for whether we should carry on the top 40 chart. You know I like listener feedback because this is a feature that will go on a bit longer than we want it to, and there will be a moment about halfway through. I'm going to keep believing. But others may
commit
stop
to the
believing.
bit, Max. That's all we can do is commit to the bit.
You've got to commit to the bit.
Let's go.
So here we go. It's the top 40 count here. The top 40 countdown of the top 40 goals from last night in the Champions League. Hit the music. Straight in at 40, Felix Metscher's deflected third for Dortmund in Copenhagen. Down 6-39 as Mana Dembele bundling in for PSG's sixth. At 38, it's Victor Gyökeres hitting the top 40, thighing home for Arsenal on the line for 4-0. Down 7 places to 37, it's Buongiorno to Alessandro Buongiorno, an own goal to equalise for PSV. It's a great header. At 36, the first of 5 penalties in our charts. Ben Sabian's penalty for Dortmund in Copenhagen. At 35, another one from 12 yards. Lamine Yamal rolling it down the middle for Barca's third. And at 34, Çalhanoğlu's penalty for Inter to put them 3 up in Belgium. At number 33, who knew Fabio Silva played for Dortmund? He's put them 4-1 up in Denmark with a finish from a tight angle. Back to our penalties, it's the penultimate penalty. Alex Garcia, our first entry into the charts for him for Bayer Leverkusen, a nice side foot. And at 31, it's El Kabi's penalty for Olympiacos in off the post. There's no stopping that.
Scored so many goals.
It's a lot,
into
isn't
the top 30. Into the top 30. Yeah, commit to the bit. Back to open play at 30. It's Dennis Manns bundling home after a nice move to put PSV 3-1 up on Napoli. At 29, Pacho's header. PSG's first. At 28, Esposito makes it 4 for Inter. At 27, another for the Azzurri. It's Denzel Dumfries with a neat turn. 1-0 for Inter at USG. 26, Scott McTominay second for Napoli. It's 2-4. 25, Bernardo Silva's header to put City 2-0 up at Villarreal.
Scored so many goals.
It's a lot, isn't it?
24.
It's a lot. Let's go, top 20. Commit to the bit.
No. Oh, no, it's 24. 24, Scott McTominay back in the chart with a lovely header for Napoli. At 23, it's Gabriel out of reach with that header for 1-0 to the Arsenal. At 22, Barca's opener for Fermin Lopez. At 21, Erling Haaland's opener for City at Villarreal. And now the top 20.
Scored so many goals.
We're halfway. Are you serious? God, I respect
much,
Bruno
isn't it?
Brooks. I respect Bruno
Malcolm
Brooks.
says rubbish, stop now, please stop. But other than that, it's going well.
Marcus Rashford standing still, finish into the bottom corner for 4-1 at Barcelona. At 19, Anthony Gordon's an opener for Newcastle. Good move down the right. PSV's Saibari at 18, clean through. PSV's 5th tapped home by Ricardo Pepi. Nice move at 17. At 16, it's Fermin Lopez's hat-trick, lashed home for 5-1. At 15, Kvaratskhelia 3-1 in off both posts. At 14, PSG again, Desiree Doué's first to put them 2-1 up as he passed it into the corner. At 13, Lautaro Martinez, neat finish into the top corner, 2-0 Inter. At 12, Nuno Mendes putting PSG 5-1 up. Nice work from Vitinha. And at 11, Vitinha scores PSG 7th. And now the Big 10.
Top 10.
Scored so many goals.
Here we go, Fermin Lopez's second goal for Barca, beautifully taken. Straight in at 9, Gabriel Martinelli's finish from Luis Skelly's run, 2-0 to Arsenal. At 8, Desiree Doué's at it again at 8. His second puts PSG 4-1 up just before half-time. At 7, Harvey Barnes' second goal, what a move. Voltemada's back heel, 3-0 Newcastle. At 6, Marcus Rashford back in the chart, his second for Barca, brought out of the sky and bottom corner for 6-1. At 5, PSV's Dennis Mann, his second entry in the top 40, Arjen Robben style. At 4, Newcastle United Nick Pope throws the ball a million miles to Harvey Barnes for 2-0. At 3, it's Alex Garcia's second for Leverkusen, smacked into the top corner. At 2, Kouab Druish, edge of the box for PSV 6. And at number 1 for a 17th week running, it's Brian Adams, it's Felix Metscher, opener for Dortmund, dummy, and then whack.
Scored so many goals.
There we are. Beautiful.
I enjoyed it. No, I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, Max. It was really good.
We were going to do on the text the Nick Pope throw.
Oh yeah, the Nick Pope throw. What's the furthest you've thrown something, and what was it?
Yeah, so something. What's the furthest you've thrown something?
Yeah.
We've all got an answer for that. If you cast back into your mind, there'll be something you've thrown something further than you've ever thrown anything before, or perhaps you've thrown a watermelon you think a considerable distance. We will take those.
Or perhaps you've thrown some rolled up paper into a bin on an angle.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you've done that. That's not fair. We've got some of those, Max. For the Wythenshawe vets over 35s, currently playing in the Cheshire Veterans League.
Yeah.
Players registered. Danny Drinkwater, Omar Niasse, Stephen Ireland, George Boyd, Darren Gibson, Emil Heskey, Jolyon Lescott and Papis Cisse.
Yeah, Nader Manua as well, blimey. But that is not fair. You're right.
That is not fair.
We'll do the throw. We'll launch the throwing text topic properly. But David O'Leary is standing by. He's probably heard that chart and wondering what's going on. But he joins us in just a second. And we'll ask him questions like, will Arsenal win the league in March, etc., etc. But they were good again last night, and David O'Leary will join us next. You are listening to Rushden Baker on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Pick up your wet weather essentials today. Next up, Toolstation. It's fair to say it's not been roundly loved, the top 40.
Oh, really?
Graham says, I love you guys, but that was the worst section of radio in some time.
Wow.
Muse
Okay.
lover. I love you both, but top 40 is too many. Crikey, I can't really bring you down with me. It was very much my idea,
Yeah,
Charlie.
well,
But I appreciate the support.
With it, I support you, Max.
Some listener feedback, says Maurizio.
No such
That
thing as
top
a bad idea. Well, I mean, I've heard a few things. Right. Disagree with that.
But all of them we've come up with. That top 20 thing. Please make that the first and last time. It went on too long, became just noise and not remotely funny. Sometimes they get a bit cutting.
Yeah, they get cross. People get cross, don't they?
That's okay.
The worst thing you can try
let's-
and do is have a fun idea.
Let's talk to David O'Leary, Arsenal legend, former Arsenal captain, after their 4-0 win against Atleti last night. Hey, David.
Hello, David.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're all well.
Yeah, we're all good. Thank you.
Good. Lovely to talk to you. Look, it's another good win. It's another clean sheet. It's all just clicking at the moment for Arsenal, isn't it?
Strong performance. I think with that, everybody speaks about it. You know, it's a really top squad now. Physicality in the team. Don't give goals away. A threat on set plays. Everything's there. That's makes you to be a really, really good team now.
Yeah, and we talk about set pieces a lot, but Declan Rice's delivery is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the angle Declan put it in where I was last night. I just followed the ball in. I had a clear line into it, and
there we are.
He's gone. It did sound like he
What was good is he said he had a clear line into it, and then his line went. So it was,
sounded like it sounded like
David was going to header it in at the.
It was such a good delivery. Anyone in the crowd could have scored it. And David scored the winner. It is so good. I think he's back, David. I think you're back. We lost you briefly. We were just talking about watching the line of the free kick.
Traveling.
No, you're all good.
Yeah, and it's a nightmare for a keeper because even if a defender gets a touch on it, the keeper's got no chance. Delivery was absolutely fantastic, and it was it looked dangerous from the time it went in there, and in the end it was a great goal.
David, momentum is key in sport, isn't it? And it feels like Arsenal are really building some momentum in the league and in the Champions League to really try and push it all the way.
I think you've got the squad there now. They're the big two prizes, and they're the two prizes that particularly are capable of winning with the squad you have. I'd love to, if you gave me one to choose from over 38 games, I'd love to see them win the league. I think they've got the squad to do it. They've got a great chance of doing it, and only time will tell.
Yeah, look, he didn't make too many changes last night. A couple of changes. It was good to see Lewis Skelly, who obviously must be watching Calafiori thinking, well, God, he's playing really well, but it's tricky when you've had such a good season. Gyökeres scored two. Gyökeres scored two. Let's hear what Arteta said about Victor Gyökeres last night.
All of us, because he makes us a much better team. I think we become much more unpredictable. He's so physical, he opens the spaces for everybody. The way he presses the ball, holds the ball, it's just phenomenal. And then, the ice on the cake. And the biggest thing that we're going to debate about him is goals. He certainly scored two very different ones today, and hopefully he starts to get some momentum and a good run of goals.
How impressive are you with his general performance, David?
I seen him play for Coventry a couple of years back, and I liked him. And he went out to Portugal, scored plenty of goals in not a great league, but he scored plenty of goals. And I think Arsenal have lacked the proper number 9 for the last 2 years, even though they've been doing really well. And Havertz has been doing a role that, is he a number 9? No, I don't think so. So any type of quality number 9 coming in this season was always going to improve the team. And when you buy players, you want them to improve you, and Gyökeres has done that.
Quick word on your other team, Leeds, David. They've had a sort of up and down start, haven't they? But then none of the promoted teams are really struggling. So you think they could do something?
Look, the teams that have come up this year have been teams that I think they're not going to come up and, we're going to play fancy football and we're going to look great. We're going to play effective football that suits us, and we're going to be teams that are going to be hard to beat. And if we're going to go down, we're really going to go down with a fight. And I think the 3 teams that come up this year are going to be very difficult and make it difficult for teams that are going to give it a really good go. And they've got every chance, particularly Sunderland, of staying up. The start they've given themselves. Leeds, they've got to win the teams like they've got coming up against West Ham. They'll never have a better chance of getting 3 points against a very poor West Ham team. And that's where they've got to go if they want to stay up, win games like this coming up on Friday night.
Yeah, it has become a bit more direct, isn't it, for all the teams? Is there any satisfaction for you, David, that the football of the era that you played in is successful again?
Are you calling David O'Leary a dirty long ball man?
No. David definitely wasn't.
He's a cultured footballer.
David definitely wasn't. Some of that team were.
Thank you for defending me there.
That's okay.
I was saying the era, not just you, David.
No, I know what you mean. But I think what we're getting now is a little bit of variety back. There was a stage where, yes, Pep came in and we started to follow this beautiful football with the great players he had. But there's other teams that haven't got that and who have tried to play that way and have given themselves no chance. I think teams now are looking at what's their strengths, how best can we play, and that's good to see. I think, you listen to people talking about the long throw is back. Look, if you've got it and you can put it in the box, why not use it? And I think it's good for the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Finally, David, where would you predict Arsenal to finish in the league and in the Champions? I know it's very early. It's not really fair to make these predictions, but can you do it anyway?
Look, I think Arsenal will finish number 1. I'm not saying Piers Morgan. I like Piers and I know him, and he's a great Arsenal supporter, but I don't think we'll have it done by March. I think it'll be very close, but I think we've absolutely got an amazing chance this year with the squad we have of winning the league. The Champions League, which is the other big prize, there's a squad capable of going a long, long way there, and only time will tell on that one. But if you gave me a choice, I'd be quite delighted that we just take the league title, which would be fantastic for the club.
Lovely stuff,
Excellent.
David. Thanks so much for coming
David.
on.
Thank you. All the best. Have a good show.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Cultured centre-back in a sea of dirty long ball hoofers. David O'Leary there. And speaking of Piers Morgan, and it says here, this is not my words, Big Alan Gabby will be joined by unbearable Arsenal fan Piers Morgan during the breakfast show. That's what it says here.
Sure.
I'm literally just saying.
Just read it out loud, like Ron Burgundy.
I'm just a performing monkey. Piers will join the guys for half an hour, along with a host of other great guests. So that's the breakfast show tomorrow morning, live from 6. Al from Essex says, years back on Anglia News.
Oh,
I used to love Anglia News. They showed some old clips of Ipswich from the 70s. I can't remember who it was. This is regards Nick Pope hurling that ball to Harvey Barnes. It was a great moment yesterday. I can't remember who it was, but they had a player who could throw a golf ball 125 yards and who could jump over a Vauxhall Viva.
Wow,
that's good.
There was a footballer called Duncan McKenzie who used to jump a Mini.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's the same person or if in the Anglia region they were jumping Vauxhalls rather than Minis. But
well, I don't know the height of a Vauxhall Viva over a Mini. One of the reasons why I just missed out on Australian Top Gear.
On Talk Vivas.
I did pitch to be one of the, when Top Gear changed.
Oh, yeah.
I said I'd take a combi van and play Songs of Love and apologise everywhere that, Clarkson and his mates had upset them. And they thought about it and then they went down a car route. It's very upsetting.
Very upsetting. Yeah, of course. There we
are. James says, I love the top 40. Perhaps break at 20. Still confused thinking it's Saturday. Muse lovers be back in touch. For the record, I love the idea. It's just 40 isn't the way. Top 10 is enough. Ranking penalties is all. Otherwise, I love any list, he says.
Any list at all.
Any list.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, it is Max and Charlie with you until 4 this afternoon on talkSPORT. Lars Simonson will join us and we will talk about all the goals. Maybe if he's missed them, I could run through them all
again. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Just a second.
A wonderful attitude to work hard for the team. talkSPORT's Danny Murphy echoes Mikel Arteta's comments that Victor Gyökeres makes Arsenal better.
He's one of those players that if you speak to centre-halves, they'll say after a game, that was tough. Because he doesn't stop running in behind, he'll fight you.
Gyökeres ended a 9-game dry spell in the win over Atletico Madrid. Elsewhere, Liverpool need to break a hoodoo of their own live on talkSPORT tonight, lose at Frankfurt, and it will be the first time since 1953 they've lost 5 in a row. Danny also thinks Slot will leave Mo Salah on the bench.
His lack of defensive effort
Yes.
has always been there. Because he's been given
But
a
the balance
licence.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance, it's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end to forgive him for that.
Speaking of big stars, will Florian Wirtz ever live up to his price tag? It's not just Liverpool fans who are concerned by his form or lack of it. German football broadcaster Konstantin Eckner says national team fans are worried too now.
Didn't really play a great game against Northern Ireland recently in the World Cup qualifiers, which was surprising, especially right now. Jamal Musiala is injured, so Florian Wirtz is the centerpiece of Germany's attacking midfield, but he didn't really play that well.
And does Harry Maguire deserve a new contract at Man United? Gabi Agbonlahor says 100% yes.
If anyone deserved that winning goal on the weekend against Liverpool, it was Harry Maguire. In his mind as well, he'd be thinking, I want to get back in the England squad.
There's more at talksport.com.
Champions League is back this midweek on the talkSPORT network.
Altamada playing him in, Gordon rolling it in. It's Barnes! It's 3, a match Newcastle really had to win to galvanise their chances of a top 8 finish in the Champions League. And it is a match that's brought them 3 goals and will bring them 3 points. Newcastle 3, Benfica 0.
Oh, this is turning into a glorious European night for Arsenal because it's now Arsenal 4, Atletico Madrid 0. Victor Gyökeres at the double. What a statement result that is for Arsenal, and even more impressively, 12 wins in the league phase at home in succession without conceding a single goal.
Crossing for Bernardo Silva, unmarked, 6 yards out, firm header, 2-0 Manchester City.
And Pep Guardiola's unbeaten run stretches to 9 games. It's a good night's work for the citizens in the Champions League.
Yeah, 43 goals in the Champions League. Good results for City, Arsenal and Newcastle. Let's talk to European football expert, our friend Lars Siverton. Hi, Lars.
Hello, Lars.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it, last night?
Yeah, loads of goals.
Well, actually, I mean, apart from PSV beating Napoli, it was all sort of teams you'd expect to winning. So is it good that they all won with ridiculous scorelines? Is that better? Like, is this a sign
So
that
you
football
say that?
is dying or not?
Yeah. No, I want to add some context to the Leverkusen PSG result because Leverkusen came into this feeling kind of positive about things because, of course, they had a bit of a false start to the season with Erik ten Hag, who they had to remove very, very quickly. replaced him with Kasper Hjulmand, the former national team coach of Denmark. And he's unbeaten in his first 7 in charge of Leverkusen. And there had been a real sense that, okay, we're starting to get this together and we're starting to look like a functional team again. And okay, you play PSG, you know that bad things can happen to you. But I really didn't see a 7-2 coming. You rarely do, I guess, but especially with the situation being what it is, they felt they could get something here. And PSG themselves, I mean, they were held 3-3 by Strasbourg, Chelsea's sort of French outpost on Friday. They've had a few injuries to start the season. But I just think that when this game became 10 versus 10, I think that just kind of favored PSG a little bit, because if there's one thing you associate with this Paris Saint-Germain team on the pitch, certainly, I think right now it's speed. Like, they've got so much pace across the board, with just incredibly fast wing backs with Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, and Bradley Barcola on the front 3, who are all kind of quick guys who run well with the ball. So when it became really open, because both teams just had 10 players on the pitch, I think that really suited Paris.
I like the new format, and I think it keeps revealing itself as it goes on. I was thinking 2 things about last night, which is, if a team is suddenly losing by a lot of goals, I wonder if they go, well, it doesn't. Now we've lost the game. It doesn't really matter by how many, because the league format is so sort of expansive. So, so I don't know if we're going to get more like 7-2s, but also you sort of need to win 4 games perhaps, and if you're a big team like PSG, you might be saving that performance for against the minnows. So you just have to beat the minnows to go through to the next bit. Do either of those things make sense, Lars?
No, I'm inclined to agree with you, Charlie Baker. I do think, on the one hand, it has taken some of the jeopardy, almost all of the jeopardy, out of these games. So there is the sense that it really doesn't matter a whole lot. But that also means it takes some of the tension out of it, which means that you do get quite entertaining games. Because if you look back to the previous format with the 4-team groups, the way the seeding worked, it seemed to me like most years, most groups would be 2 quite good teams.
Yeah.
And then a third that was okay, but not brilliant. And then a fourth that would kind of get kicked around a lot. That's what it usually ended up being. So for the 2 quite good teams, when they face each other, they just kind of don't want to lose. And then you make sure you do a good professional job against the other 2 in the group. And it wasn't, I think you're right. It did lead to unbalanced, some games that were very unbalanced. But then when the big teams faced each other, there was so much tension that they were often quite tight and niggly games. So maybe that is another thing that's kind of working with this format, is that the expected fun is way up.
Yeah. Napoli losing 6-2 at PSV is a surprise. And Conte has a terrible record in Europe, doesn't he?
Yeah, that is uncanny. Antonio Conte, who is, I have to stress, like, he is really on a near genius level coach. And if you look at what he's done with his clubs, and with apologies to Spurs fans listening who had a slightly different experience, but like him winning the Scudetto with Napoli last season with was turning Scott McTominay into this goal-scoring sensation from midfield. Like, there's not a lot of coaches in world football who could do that. Arguably, no other coaches in world football could have done that. What was funny about this game is, one of the things Conte has a reputation for is complaining a lot about wanting more players. I mean, I think both Chelsea fans and Spurs fans will acknowledge this. It's been the same when he's been at Inter, was the same when he was at Juventus. He's always like dropping hints in the press about how he needs to be backed more by the club and all this sort of stuff. Do you know what he said after this game, Max? After this terrible defeat? He said they've signed too many players now. He did, which is, for long-time Conte watchers, I mean, he made reasonable points, but it's hard not to giggle a little bit about it. He was also seemed a bit downcast. He said after, and I quote, after the game, he says, I see these players every day, and when I try to calm things down, it's not looking for excuses. It's because I can see things that suggest to me this is going to be a complicated campaign. So that's a bit of a thumbs down from the coach. And he said that he felt, they signed 9 first-team players over the summer, and that was too many. And maybe it is too many, but an unusual sort of change of style for Conte. This game also featured, I mean, and Napoli got a player sent off. They got their forward, Lorenzo Luca, received a straight red for mouthing off to the referee, which I have to say I quite like. I just think you obviously don't want to see it.
He sort of points his head like, you know, in the playground when you go, "You're thick, mate," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just think, listen, you obviously don't want referees to just go wild and send people off all the time. Like, that would have weird consequences for the game. But I just think the sort of abuse and disrespect of referees is just completely out of control at the highest level, and it filters all the way down the pyramid, all the way down to grassroots football. And I think the referees should be empowered and encouraged to stand up for themselves a little bit more. And just when a player clearly is out of line and clearly giving them way too much abuse, just straight red, just go away.
Yeah.
And if more referees did that, I think the players would eventually settle down a little bit, is my theory.
I used to play with a guy, and the opposition were being saying that wasn't the ref, but this guy, was just kicking him everywhere, and he just turned and went, "You are so thick. You are so thick." And then the guy just basically threatened to knock him out, and so he just did this amazing, and I apologise. It was like the most embarrassing quick climb down in the history of football. Hello, Chris Walton, if you're listening. Tonight, you're the Bodo Glimt correspondent. They play Galatasaray.
Yeah.
That could be good.
I'm very excited about this. I'm going to try to sell this, going full salesman mode here to the neutral. Like, if you have the time to take this game in, this should be fun. Like, Galatasaray, super impressed with how they held off against Liverpool, by the way, because they're usually not amazing defensively, but they did really well there. They are now unbeaten in 29 home games in all competitions, and they've only failed to score once in their last 23 home games in Europe. So Galatasaray, not an easy place to go. They have, as we all know by now, Victor Osimhen is a phenomenal striker up front. Leroy Sané scored 2 goals at the weekend. He's starting to find his feet there. You've got sort of the old hand in Ilkay Gundogan sort of pulling a bit of strings there as well. Like, it's a fun team, Galatasaray. An incredible atmosphere at their stadium. One of the things you should be on your bucket list if you're someone who likes to travel and watch some football. But of course, Bodo Glimt, they are now getting, they're better at home. I'm not going to lie. Bodo Glimt prefer to play at home on the artificial turf in sort of October, November. That is much more where they will, cause upsets. But they've got quite a lot of European experience now, having played in the Conference League, having played in the Europa League. A lot of these guys are now pretty seasoned campaigners, even though, of course, they're massive underdogs. So I don't think they'll necessarily be intimidated. And the thing I like about Bodo Glimt is that they do try to play their game. Like, they never just default to parking the bus, because they're not very good at it. So if they have to do that, and you saw, I was very happy they performed as well as they did against Tottenham earlier in the year, because I don't think we saw just what they're about in the doubleheader against Spurs in the Europa League last year. But this Champions League game against Spurs was much more. The way they moved the ball, the attacks they created was very, very impressive. And I think they'll go to Istanbul and give Galatasaray a game. I think you have 2 positive attacking teams there in a wild atmosphere. I think that could be tremendous fun.
Graham Souness would have got in all sorts of trouble, wouldn't he, if he'd tried to put a flag in the middle of Bodo Glimt's plastic pitch.
Oh yeah,
they'd be
throwing fish.
Ruined it in the middle of there.
Yeah.
It'd been a nightmare.
Yeah. Although we've got a bit of Astra, actually, you can get things in there. It's
can
hard,
you? All right, okay.
And you can.
If you tried to get in there, Max?
Yeah. Well, you can. Well, we've got some mushrooms growing out of it as well.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Really? That doesn't sound good.
Sound like it's
peg
well
in there.
kept.
Anyway, thanks, Lars. Appreciate your time.
Lars.
As always, good man.
Anytime, guys. Have a good one.
Mark says, more lists, please. Only top 10s. Maybe if Max is struggling for a topic, he could count down his top 10, quote, little lefty mates, says Mark. Reference to some charming praise from Simon Jordan on the Jim and Simon show yesterday. Up the Generals, he says. And Dave says, love the
Up
top
the
40, Max.
Boo, the Generals beat us at the weekend. The Generals.
Could you revisit top 40 celebrities you've seen fly tipping next, Dave, in Manchester? Nice. I don't remember doing that topic, but that is a good topic. We'll do it another day.
Do something with the top 40. We should think of something for top 40s, Max. It's a good idea.
It was long, though. I got a bit tired, even myself. If
we start at 1 o'clock and finish it at 4, the listeners can give us all 40.
it's a good
See if we can ever get to 40.
Anyway, some boxing next.
Yes.
They gave us a week off to really practice talking about boxing, but now we're back. But look, it's with some pros. Spencer Oliver and Gareth A. Davis will join us in just a second.
happy that he put up his hand. There are a lot of fighters that say they want to fight, but they fight anyone. But they're just saying it, you know?
Past this fight is the Alexander Usyk fight, and that's not a massive fight. That is the fight. That is everything.
The winner of it will be the next challenger to Usyk.
He's a WBA mandatory, I'm WBO, but we're not going to sit around and wait. We want to be busy.
Big right hand there from Parker, and down goes McCauley. This is great work from Parker. The legs are completely gone of Wilder.
Big Joseph Parker.
I think this is a good example of we will fight anyone.
The real drama, the real excitement will come on the 25th.
Bobby in Bristol writes, punches in bunches, the sweet science, Southpaw, Frank Bruno, I'm here to help, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, we can hand over to some pros who are at a gym in East London watching, what are you watching, chap? Spencer Oliver, Gareth A. Davis there? What's the professional term? Open training, open sparring, what's happening?
It's the open workouts, and we're just coming to the conclusion here, Max, this afternoon. I think Fabio Wardley behind us going through his paces. They don't reveal too much on these days, but the open workout, it's intense in here. It's a small room, 150 people in here. Fabio Wardley here behind us. Joseph Parker in another corner, ready for all or nothing on Saturday night, Spence.
Yeah, Fabio Wardley just about to start his open workout behind us. And as Gareth says, we don't really see too much, but the reality for both fighters has now kicked in. Saturday night, with what's on the line for both of these guys, is going to be something quite special.
Are you surprised Joseph Parker took this fight, either of you? It feels a little bit below his pay grade to me.
Well, look, Fabio's a world-class WBA interim champion. Joseph Parker's the WBO interim champion. He fought in February. Late opponent in Martin Bakole. He needs to get out. Year and a half. He's only had 2 rounds in the ring in that Bakole fight. No, this is a great fight for him because he can get one of the young pretenders out of the way. And as Frank Warren said on that lead up there before we came in today, this is potentially to fight the winner, to fight for the undisputed title against Alexander Usyk, Spencer. So it's not a bad fight for him at all.
No, it's a great fight for both guys in their positions at the moment. We know both being number one in the WBA, WBO and WBA. Yeah. So, yeah, the winner potentially gets that shot at Alexander Usyk. So, I think it's a great opportunity for both guys. The winner kicks on, and it's been billed as all or nothing, and that's exactly what it is.
Now, Spencer, you're in a bit of trouble, I think. I'm sure you can handle yourself. If you need help, if you need backup, I'm here. But you were talking about the bare knuckle boxing. British fighter Tyler Goodjohn was beaten by legendary former boxer Paulie Malignaggi. It was live on talkSPORT Boxing YouTube on Saturday night. And Tyler is not happy with you, I think. Here's a clip.
I watched talkSPORT today, talking about the fight with Paulie. Spencer Oliver, I mean, look, it's like this. I don't really like him as a pundit anyway, especially the last sort of 6 months, year. He speaks from a perspective of someone who's trying to please all the promoters, the managers, all the money men. I really don't feel like he speaks for the fighters, the people who need a voice. And what really, really annoyed me today is that he referred to me as being a Southern area level professional. Spencer, you know better than that. You know me. I was an English champion. What was the point of me getting in there, fighting a 12-0 fighter, becoming champion of England, to then be mugged off on talkSPORT and be told that I was Southern area level? And look, Spencer, it's like this, mate. I demand an apology. I'm not asking, I demand an apology.
I find it all too much so confrontational. I'm getting nervous myself, but Spencer, you knew this was coming. We've not stitched you up here, but what do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I feel slightly disappointed in Tyler Goodjohn, if I'm honest. I've known him a long, long time. Always respected him as a fighter, by the way. I've always said that, he's one of those guys that goes in there, he's teeth tough, and, maybe at the back end of his career, he was that guy that was used as an opponent for the younger guys that were coming through to kick on. But I've always had respect for Tyler Goodjohn, and, I think This comes from emotion from Tyler Goodjohn, really. I mean, he contacts me a lot. He tries to get hold of me. He's been asking to come on talkSPORT. Well, Tyler, there you go, mate. You've made it onto talkSPORT now, and let's hope we can go back to where we was in the beginning. I don't know what I've done to upset him, but it is what it is, isn't it?
It's an interesting. It's actually an interesting conversation because, like, you have crossed into the media, Spencer, and your job is to offer an opinion on fighters. Have you found that difficult in your career as you've gone on to be as honest as you want to be?
No, and I think that I get a lot of respect for the honesty. You know, where a lot of people, in my job maybe are not as honest. Maybe they don't say what they see. I actually do, and I think some of the fighters do respect that. I've said nothing bad about Tyler Goodjohn, by the way. Admittedly, I got it wrong and said that he was Southern Area champion. Oh, sorry about that. You was English champion. My apologies for that. But yeah, demanding an apology.
Yeah,
please, come on.
That's a lot.
I do think, gents. I do think, gents, that Tyler retired at the weekend after a very tough fight against Paulie Malignaggi, and I think Spencer has full respect. I work with this guy all the time. He has deep respect for all fighters.
Yeah.
He's corrected that. The guys need to move on. We've made up with the Fishers. We both fell out with John and Johnny Fisher. We've made up about 10 months later. Oh, yeah, we've hugged it out. So hopefully we'll be having a Chinese again with them soon. Maybe we can go out and have a Chinese with Tyler Goodjohn.
Max was saying some very disrespectful things about you, Gareth.
well, I'd expect that from him
exactly.
anyway.
Good stuff, chaps.
Thank you, lads.
Have a nice afternoon. This Saturday, talkSPORT.
Your southern area. You're about a southern area fighter.
I'm definitely. The two of us are quite southern area, aren't we?
I wouldn't fancy going to the northern area and having a fight.
I don't think I do.
I don't think I do very well.
Despite the fact it is well known that I could knock anyone out. I would like to. I'd prefer to knock them out in the southern area. The southern, it's an easier area, isn't it?
Feels easier. Feels easier.
Doesn't it? This Saturday, talkSPORT brings you more heavyweight boxing as Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley face up for the WBO interim title live from the O2. Our expert boxing team will keep you right across a busy fight week, and you can watch along with this fight, our night of the fight, over on talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley this Saturday, 7:30 on the talkSPORT network, or you can watch it live on DAZN. Adam says, I saw DJ Otzi dump an entire sofa and poof set outside Asda in Stoke Market when doing the fly tipping you've seen of celebrities. Stephen says, Max complaining about a feature being too long. Why did we have to endure Trophy Wars for 5 years? Endure is not.
Wow.
We don't like that, to use that verb on this show. We don't use the verb endure. James says, I think for my demographic, there needs to be an announcement every half hour saying this is not Saturday morning. I've twice got ready to visit my daughter and family, he says. 8:89 at Max Rushden, at Baker's tweet. It's Max and Charlie with you until 4. Here's Amelia with the sport.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Thank you, Max. And a very good afternoon. As Liverpool head to Frankfurt in the Champions League tonight, they'll be hoping to bag their first win in a while. The Premier League champions suffered their 4th consecutive defeat on the weekend for the first time since 2014. So what's going wrong for the Reds? Danny Murphy.
I think it's fair to say a lot of the new signings haven't coped very well. That's fair. I think a lot of the top players from last season who are still there aren't at the same level they were last season, which isn't a good mix.
Murphy also reckons Salah's starting on the bench. That game is live on talkSPORT with build-up beginning at 7 p.m. Meanwhile, Spurs are visiting Monaco, and that is live on talkSPORT too. Now, we're hearing Aston Villa have opened contract negotiations with Morgan Rogers over a fresh deal. Meanwhile, does Harry Maguire deserve a new contract at Old Trafford? Gabby Bonmahor says 100% yes.
Manchester United, it's a no-brainer. Dyche, Yoro, defenders have got available. Harry Maguire is their best defender, and he deserves a new deal for sure.
Sticking with new deals, Andrew Tonali has agreed a new one with Newcastle until the summer of 2029 with the option of an extra year. The agreement was reached in secret while he was serving his 10-month betting ban. And out in India, England's women have finished batting against Australia. Let's check in with John Norman.
244 for 9, so Australia need 245 to win this game. Both teams unbeaten, both teams through to the semi-finals, but boy oh boy would England love to get one over their old rivals. They set off brilliantly, 55 without loss inside 9 overs, only for Australia to come back into the clash as the innings progressed. England really couldn't get on top or away from that point onwards. Tammy Beaumont, the pick of the batters, 78 at the top of the order, but Annabelle Sutherland and also Alana King's figures of 1 for 20 from her 10 overs have made this seemingly Australia's game. At the halfway stage, they need 245 to win.
Thanks very much, John. Don't forget, there's loads more content on talkSPORT's cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
The boy who killed 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose in a school knife attack has been named. And the Prime Minister promises the grooming gang inquiry will not be watered down. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Of sunshine and showers this afternoon, but turning wetter and windier in the southwest.
From Nottingham Forest in the last couple of minutes, they have confirmed the appointment of Sean Dyche as the club's new head coach.
You get put in a box, right? I don't fight that box. You can put me in a box, no problem. My players know what to do. They know how we train. They know what our outcome is. If you think we go on the training field and kick the ball forward, we don't. We never did.
I think the first thing he's got to do is get the fans back on side. That's important. Clean sheets, get us back up the table, maybe a decent couple of cup runs.
You can play the beautiful game, play it, but you've got to win. It's got to be successful.
Go work for Marinakos. Don't expect a placid, easy owner that sits there not letting you know what he thinks.
They need clean sheets. And the big thing about Forest that came out from last season is defensively, they were outstanding.
He plays a very similar game to Nuno. He knows how to block teams out and then get these new players who are not getting a game at the moment, try and get them revved up, try and get something out of them.
Forget about long ball, short ball. It's not relevant. Playing good football that can be effective. That's what I like.
Charlie, I am going to wager that the clip of all of that bit that we just heard that you liked was, and it made you think, could we find Sean Dyche and put him in a box? Is exactly what.
Put me in a box. I like being in a box. He sounded like a ventriloquist dummy. Don't want to be in a box. I'm in the box. Let me out of the box. Don't put me back in the box. Get in the box. I liked it.
During these Soccer AM Glory years, I devised a sketch called Teal or No Teal, where we did build an enormous Deal or No Deal box and put Sean Teal in it and opened the box and he came out. Can't really remember how we got to the stage where someone had to dress as Noel Edmonds and go Teal or No Teal, and then he just jumped out. But, he was game, so if he is, maybe
went
Sean
for it,
Dyche
so
is.
why not? Exactly.
Yeah. It's my job, by the way. Anyway, he's going to do his first press conference in about half an hour. Let's talk to Max Scott, talkSPORT reporter, Forest fan as well. Hey, Max.
Hello, Max.
Are you itching to see what Sean Dyche says? What are you expecting?
Well, look, Sean Dyche is currently being unveiled to photographers, written press, etc., in the Forest Museum. And having been here just, 43 days ago for the unveiling of Ange Postecoglou, he didn't get that treatment. He was just unveiled on the pitch. Sean Dyche is getting both. And perhaps that speaks to... That speaks to sort of his history at the club, sort of growing up as an academy player under Brian Clough. He lives in Nottingham. He loves Rock City, and of course his assistant coaches Steve Stone, Ian Wone, sort of 90s legends for Forest. And I think that the fact that he's being unveiled there speaks to the connection that he's got with the club, and perhaps the club's desire to try to grab back some of that connection with fans, which was rapidly lost during the short, chaotic Ange Postecoglou era.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that he was saying, put me in a box, don't put me in a box. Everyone has a view of how Sean Dyche plays football, and part of it is accurate, right? He will get you solid defensively, and he will be hard to break down. It is very Nuno-like, and given how West Ham played on Monday, it's hard to say that Nuno is a better version of Dyche or Dyche is a better version of Nuno, but that's the football you're going to play. So there was all this sort of back and forth about whether he got just until the end of this season or the extra year with Marco Silva sort of looming. So how well does Sean Dyche have to do this season for him to be here next season?
It's a really good question.
Thank you.
Max, it's that hard-hitting journalism that we're all listening to you for. But look, I think ultimately he'd have to win something, perhaps. That is what Evangelos Marinakis wants. He wants to deliver a trophy to the fan base. That's been his stated ambition since Forest were promoted in the playoffs after that sort of miraculous season under Steve Cooper. But I think on the tactical side of things, of course, you're right. It is very similar to what you've seen under Nuno, but that's clearly what Forest need, because that sort of solidity, that consistency, that difficult to beat mentality that Forest has played for so much of last season just totally disappeared. And so I am interested in sort of how Forest are going to play. One thing I do think, though, is that the landscape of football is changing, I think, away from sort of 800 passes in your own 18-yard box to a bit more of a direct game. And we've seen that in sort of the rise in popularity of the long throw. We've seen it with Arsenal, who are so successful at set pieces, despite the fact they're not quote unquote ticking or firing on all cylinders going forward. And so I do sort of wonder that whether the football landscape is changing in a way that Sean Dyche is a sexy appointment now. Sean Dyche is a more fashionable appointment now because, as ever, football is working in cycles. And so I do think that coupled with that, his approach, and then coupled with the fact that he's already got this great rapport with the city and the fans. When he was in work, out of work, he was always at the City ground, sort of with mates from the area, watching the club. He mentioned the A block, which is the sort of most vociferous support you get at the City ground, in his first interview with the club's social media channels. And so he's ticking all the right boxes. I guess the challenge will be where you've got Porto, tomorrow night, and then you play Bournemouth, who I don't think Forest have beaten for 11 years. And so you've got a couple of really difficult fixtures to get that underway. But I do think that the ingredients are there, the conditions are there for Dyche to really succeed.
Yeah, good news for Chris Wood, isn't it? He's not been firing. Yeah, you say Bournemouth away, and then Man U at home, and then Leeds at home. I think Man U might be on for their 5th win in a row by then nearly. So that bloke with the hair will be really hoping Sean Dyche gets off to a bad start. But
well, that bloke with the hair might actually be hoping that Sean Dyche beats United so that he can continue riding that wave a little bit.
But yeah, so how long's he got? If is what I was going to ask you. If Postecoglou had 8 games, was it 8 games? How long's Sean Dyche got?
What if there are no wins?
If there are no wins,
Well,
if you're going to play, if that's how you're going to run your club, then I don't know if it works for everybody or not.
Yeah, and I totally understand that perspective. You know, if you're going to sack a manager so quickly, but equally, Ange Postecoglou did not help himself, and I think that, of course, there is this sort of desire from lots of people to give managers time, and of course, 39 days isn't enough. But what we saw under Ange Postecoglou was so poor that I think that it was totally the right thing to do to not give him that time, because there was so little sign of hope, so little sign of cohesion. Everything looked so disjointed. And so I don't imagine that this is going to be another 39-day situation. I don't think that the club are looking to beat their own record. And from what we know about Dyche, don't we? What does he do? He gets clubs that are in a perilous position out of that perilous position. And I know it's astonishing to think that the club are into their 3rd manager in November or in October, but ultimately there is still a long time to get that right. And I think results will pick up, and that conversation about the relegation fight won't necessarily be there come January. And then we're talking about, well, what can Dyche do to build on what Nuno's done? And it remains to be seen, but I don't think this is going to be a short appointment.
No, I think you're right. And exciting for Dyche, right? It's a really good quality squad. He's in the Europa League. You know, it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, Dyche has always had constraints, hasn't he? You know, when he did that fantastic job with Burnley, that ultimately that's a club that had very little money and resources. He then goes into Everton at their lowest ebb in their sort of long, rich history, and does really well, does that job. But here at Forest, yes, they're in a perilous position at a very early stage in the season. But he is at a club, whether you like it or not, that is incredibly ambitious, that's invested hundreds of millions of pounds, 12 new players this summer. He's got a job to get them bled in. But it should be, I imagine it's an incredibly exciting project where he doesn't have the constraints that he's previously had. And so I do think this is an opportunity not just for Dyche to do what he always does with clubs, but to perhaps dispel a few myths about what the ceiling is for him as a manager. And I'm really interested to sort of find out what he thinks about that in the press conference in 20 minutes or so.
Good stuff, Max. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Max.
Cheers, fellas.
Max Scott there, talkSPORT reporter, Forest fan. That Porto match is live on talkSPORT. Is it talkSPORT 1 or talkSPORT 2? Someone yell in my ear and can tell me. But across the talkSPORT network, talkSPORT 1 it is. And, those 12 new players that have... Yeah, those 12 new players that have barely played, perhaps they're in that box that Sean Dyche was talking about. He'll open it and find James McAtee and go, there you are. You can get out of the box now. Get out of the box. I'm here. John says, only Max would be honest enough to say what I suspect many people think about boxing and fight-related sports. It can all be a bit confrontational.
Yeah,
part of my issues with it. It's very confrontational. Any chance?
They seem angry with each other.
They do. Any
Use
chance?
your words. That's what you say to children, isn't it? Use your words.
That's what I'd be saying in the corner.
Yeah.
I'm saying in the corner, like splashing water in his mouth, getting his gum shield out, telling him down, going, use your words,
Use your
Joseph.
words.
Any chance, says Mickey. Mikey, sorry. Can we take a moment to mention Nathan Jones, the mighty Charlton Athletic?
All right.
Battling through League One playoffs, thrashing Ipswich 3-0 away, now sitting 5th in the Championship. What a start to a season.
No, I can't mention it.
Nathan Jones.
We've been told not to mention it, Mike.
We are doing an EFL bit, but we're not allowed to mention it. I'm sure. I'm sorry about that, Mikey. Anyway, it is Max and Charlie with you until 4 in partnership with Toolstation. Whatever the job, whatever the weather. Next stop, Toolstation. Matt Bragg, comedian, Banbury United fan. He's got a special coming out and he's going to talk to us about that and how Banbury United are getting on in just a second. Good afternoon, it's Max Rushden, Charlie Baker with you on talkSPORT. The NBA has returned.
Yes.
Makes it sound like Tom Hanks on Castaway. 38 years it's been away. talkSPORT can get you in the mood with live basketball on our YouTube channel this evening. The London Lions have their fourth game of the Europa Cup season with tip-off at 7:30 p.m.
Okay.
They're the only British side in the competition. They're building something special at the Copper Box Arena. Yeah.
We did that last week, didn't we, Max? Did that last Wednesday we spoke to a basketball player.
Yeah.
If we knew his name... If we remembered his name, it would be really good.
Well, we talked about how tall he was. We obviously went to you're 6'7", that's tall. In Euro Cup action, live on talkSPORT YouTube channel tonight at 7:30 p.m. Donaldo says, why are talkSPORT playing a gambling advert about the Arsenal Atleti game 18 hours after the game ended? Does no one realise Arsenal won 4-0? It's like Biff's Almanac. If I were you, I would lump on Gabriel to score the opener in the second half. I would really get Gyökeres to score 2 from 4 yards out. I don't know what odds you get, but you've got a great chance. Anyway, let's talk to comedian Matt Bragg.
Yes, please.
Banbury United fan. Yet more Banbury United. We never stop.
More rubbish.
What is
more
this?
non-league
Banbury
rubbish.
United FM. He's got a special out, and he joins us now. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Matt.
I'm all good, thank you. How's it going?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, very good. So, look, do you want to start with Banbury United? What league are that? I mean, I should know this stuff.
Come on now.
Do forgive me, but how are you getting on?
Now.
They were National League North, weren't they, Matt? And they got relegated
2 seasons ago. Yeah,
Oh, right,
So we're Southern League Premier Central now, which I always say it's slightly too regionalised to talk about. But not enough people know enough about it. It's hard to have a conversation in the pub, but it's going all right. I think it's been a mixed bag start of the season, but we've got Kelvin Langmead in as manager now, who was at Shrewsbury and Northampton when he was playing, and then at Banbury latterly, and he's brilliant.
Okay.
So he's put together a really good side, and it's just that sort of bedding in period now where it'll all come together in a few weeks, I'm sure. But we had a good little cup run as well. So, yeah, it's getting there.
What happens as a Cambridge fan is anyone above a Cambridge fan just asks really patronising questions. And then as a Cambridge fan, I ask a Banbury fan, patronising questions like, how many are you getting at Banbury? But I'm interested, how many are you getting at Banbury these days?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean about that. I always think whenever Charlie talks to me about football, I call him a glory supporter. And I don't think that ever happens. Usually for a Torquay fan.
No. The big team. Nice. The big team talks to you, isn't it? It's nice.
But it varies. We had St Albans City at home in the FA Cup a few weeks ago, and there was like 1,700 down there. But it fluctuates. There was like 600 there last night for Kettering at home. So yeah, it's up and down.
But it's good though. It's good because that's 600 people who really want to be there, and it's like they're the best thing that they're doing that week. So it's pure passion. It's brilliant. You're not getting anyone like showing off. They're going to watch Banbury United.
So there's no tourists. It's not full of tourists.
There. Have you still got a board around?
Coming in with their cameras.
Yeah. Have you still got a board around the pitch, Matt? I know you.
Yeah, I've renewed my. Renewed my board for this season. Yeah, but I've dropped a bit of a clanger with that because it's right where I like to stand in the first half, so it looks like a massive ego trip now.
You stood next to it.
Look at it and go, is that Matt Bragg's sponsor board? Is that Matt Bragg?
do you that's brilliant, but do you put your website on or do you just write your name? Does it just say Matt Bragg?
It literally just says Matt Bragg is using this as a tax write-off.
It's a bit like having a car. It's a bit like Alan Partridge's car. It's classier, I'm going to say, Matt. But it's a bit like having, you'll hear Alan Partridge on Norfolk FM. It's a bit like that, but especially if you're stood next to it. I do like it.
Great.
If you're stood next to it, handing out, I don't know what you'd hand out, Matt, some DVD box sets of your work.
If we're going to go full Partridge, maybe some shop soiled chocolate oranges or something.
You've got a special out. Look, you've just been on the road with Richie Gervais as well, haven't you? You've been part of his warm-up squad. There's a few of you that go out. What's that experience like? People will have seen that show. Lots of people have been to see him live.
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, I think it's probably the best gig that you can get in comedy because it's sort of the biggest that you can go with it in terms of arenas and the places that you go to. Like, he does everywhere in massive rooms. So on that front, it's really good. And then obviously he's a great guy. Like, it's the most fun that you can have, I think, at a gig. We do Leicester Square Theatre for like 6 months when we're working up to a tour, and there's kind of me, Ricky, obviously, Sean McLaughlin, Red Richardson, Josh Pugh.
Yeah.
And you just muck around for 6 months at Leicester Square, and it's the best.
Because you've done it for Jack D as well, recently, Charlie. And so what's that? Because you sort of know as a support, as a band, sort of some people are filing in. Like, do you have the whole room there, Charlie, when you're doing Jack?
A lot of the time, yeah, because a lot of the time people won't tell you that they're support. So what you'll normally go on to is sort of bit of disappointment that you're not Ricky Gervais or Jack D. Isn't that right, Matt?
Oh yeah. It's palpable. It really is. It's also, it sort of depends geographically, I think, because like the Alban Arena in St Albans, you find that there's loads of people walking in late there, and it's because there's a Wetherspoons opposite. Whereas if you go somewhere that's not as central, they should all be seated by the time you go on. But otherwise, they leave it to the last minute if there's a pub nearby.
But also, I guess it's a free hit for you guys, in a way, isn't it? So that's a nice, liberating part of doing that show, man.
That's the best and worst part of it, is that no one's there to see you. So really, it doesn't matter if you just tank, it doesn't really matter. No one will remember who you are either way. So
just say someone
really
else's name
pressure
as well. Don't you? Just go if you don't, you just say thanks very much. I've been, Lloyd Griffith or something on the end of your set, and then you walk off. But you've got a special out. You've been on your own.
Tell us about the special.
You've been on your own tour as well, haven't you, Matt? And you've recorded it. Where did you record it, and where can people find it?
Yeah, recorded it in June at Chipping Norton.
Oh, great!
The little theatre there, which is really nice, little old theatre. So did that in June. It's out now on YouTube and Spotify. But yeah, that's the tour that I started in Europe last September, and then finished it in June this year in the UK. And yeah, it was great. It was great. I mean, you opened on.
I did. I opened for Matt. I opened for Matt
in homecoming day.
Matt's from Banbury, obviously, and we did it. And it wasn't even in the theatre because the theatre was flooded. I opened for Matt in Banbury indoor bowling rink, which had been turned into a theatre for the evening.
Yeah, that's it. I know Oasis are playing stadiums and stuff, but they've not done an indoor bowling rink yet, have they?
No one had turned up to do bowls.
That would have been nice. Yeah, Crown Green.
Just Crown Green. Oh, it was a bowling alley, was that?
Apparently the Bowls Club were furious about it as well. They were not happy.
Which I like very much.
And I don't think you want them on your case. I just think I reckon they could get really snippy, that lot. Yeah. The Bowls, with all due respect to the Bowls community, and I know they're big listeners.
They did make us both wear the shoes. That was the thing, those white shoes. That was disappointing. Great stuff.
What's your special call, Matt?
It's very imaginatively called Matt Bragg Live. Yeah,
got it.
So it's nice and easy to find.
Okay, go and find it, and people can watch it. It's on YouTube, is it?
It's on YouTube and it's on Spotify as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. So everybody, as soon as this show is finished, not right now, but as soon as this show is finished, go and find that on YouTube or Spotify. Thank you, Matt. And
cheers,
thanks for talking to us about Banbury United as well. Appreciate it.
No worries. See you later.
Matt Bragg there, a comedian, Banbury United fan. It is Max and Charlie with you on talkSPORT. Let's go to John Norman. England's women playing Australia. Not going all our own way, is it, John?
No, I've just seen an absolutely brilliant delivery from Lauren Bell that has just cleaned up Phoebe Litchfield. Absolutely brilliant delivery that not only seamed, it swung. It seamed in, then swung away. And Litchfield coming forward, trying to essentially cover the line of the ball, beaten past the outside edge, and off stump has been pegged back. So that's the kind of start England needed. after they underperformed, it feels like, at the halfway stage with the bat. 245, the target for Australia. England actually got off to a really good start thanks to Tammy Beaumont and Amy Jones, but they were pegged back, and really a 10-over spell of leg spin from Alana King. She was almost impossible to hit. 1 for 20 from her 10 meant that England at halfway stage posted 244 for 9, so they need wickets, and they've got one. Australia in the second over, 12 for 1.
Reminder, thanks John, live and exclusive international cricket back this week. We'll bring you commentary of England's white ball series in New Zealand. The third T20 in Auckland gets underway at 7:15 tomorrow morning. You can follow our watch along on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. So I might remember that Matt Bragg talking about him, having his own sponsor board, Banbury, which is great, that just says Matt Bragg. Because you remember we sponsored a Crawley player. I don't think we ever paid them. I think we owe some bloke.
They never asked us for it, really, if I'm honest.
No, but they owe us 200 quid. Like, we did say we'd do it. So, and I think we said Barry would do it too, even though it wasn't on the show.
We didn't.
So,
we just didn't get into it, did we? We
so
dropped
if you are from Crawley and you want £200, just come and find Charlie at his next gig, because we owe someone from Crawley 200 quid. So Alex Crook will join us in just a second, and he'll do some transfer gossip. Paddy's challenge as well coming up soon.
A wonderful attitude to work hard for the team. talkSPORT's Danny Murphy echoes Mikel Arteta's comments that Victor Gyökeres makes Arsenal better.
He's one of those players that if you speak to centre-halves, they'll say after a game, that was tough. because he doesn't stop running in behind. He'll fight you.
Gyökeres ended a 9-game dry spell in the win over Atletico Madrid. Elsewhere, Liverpool need to break a hoodoo of their own live on talkSPORT tonight, lose at Frankfurt, and it will be the first time since 1953 they've lost 5 in a row. Danny also thinks Slot will leave Mo Salah on the bench.
His lack of defensive effort
has
always been there. Because he's been given
but
a
the balance
license.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance, it's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end to forgive him for that.
Speaking of big stars, will Florian Wirtz ever live up to his price tag? It's not just Liverpool fans who are concerned by his form or lack of it. German football broadcaster Konstantin Eckner says national team fans are worried too now.
Didn't really play a great game against Northern Ireland recently in the World Cup qualifiers, which was surprising, especially right now. Jamal Musiala is injured, so Florian Wirtz is the centerpiece of Germany's attacking midfield, but he didn't really play that well.
And does Harry Maguire deserve a new contract at Man United? Gabby Ogbonlahor says 100% yes.
If anyone deserved that winning goal on the weekend against Liverpool, it was Harry Maguire. In his mind as well, he'd be thinking, I want to get back in the England squad.
There's more at talksport.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Hawksby and Jacobs on talkSPORT. Max Rushden and Charlie Baker on a Wednesday. Let's talk to our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Hey, Crookie.
Afternoon, boys. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Where do you want to start? I mean, Nuno says West Ham, he's made it clear to the hierarchy they need at least 3 new signings. Blimey. Only 3. I mean, it's only one game, but whoa, it was bleak on
Monday,
good, wasn't it?
Do you know what? I can't remember a Premier League team, certainly not an established one, as in not a newly promoted side, being that poor for 90 minutes. I mean, 2-0 flattered West Ham. If it was 5 or 6, it wouldn't have been an unfair reflection. So I think you can understand why Nuno Espirito Santo is in need of reinforcements, as you say. My understanding is he wants 3 players. That would be a defender, a midfielder, and I think most importantly of all, a centre forward, because they didn't start with a recognised number 9 against West Ham. I think it's pretty clear that Nuno doesn't necessarily feel that Callum Wilson can cut it in the Premier League anymore, because even when they were 1-0 down until stoppage time, he opted not to bring him on. And one possibility that I've floated in this piece on my notebook, which was out on the talkSPORT website yesterday, is Joshua Zirkzee at Manchester United, someone who isn't getting any game time there. He wants to go. I think Italy probably is his most likely destination. There's talk over there that maybe Roma could terminate the loan of Evan Ferguson, who's not doing particularly well, and bring in Zirkzee. But I think he's the type of player who actually could do quite well for Nuno, because you look at his previous successes at Wolves, they had Raul Jimenez as a target man. Obviously at Forest, it was Chris Wood. Because Fulkrug can't stay fit, they are lacking that type of player at West Ham.
Yeah, is Zirkzee that kind? I just wonder if he is clearly really talented, okay? And definitely Man United fans have not seen the best of Zirkzee at all. But I get the impression that he needs to be sort of floating somewhere nice where things are going well, and then you'd see the best of him, as opposed to it's winter. The London Stadium isn't a great place to play football. You know, West Ham fans know that. The fans will be on you. I mean, I may be doing him a disservice. Maybe he would be like in and out there, but you sort of feel like actually you need Fulkrug but 25 and fit, and then that's what West Ham need, I think.
Yeah, I absolutely take your point, but I guess options in January are thin on the ground. It's a really difficult market to navigate, and at least you've got someone who does know about the rigours of the Premier League. I agree with you, by the way. I've been quite critical of Joshua Zirkzee in the past, but there is talent there. I mean, he's got a terrific touch. He's got a good footballing brain, but clearly he doesn't have a role at Manchester United. So he'll definitely go somewhere in January. It's just a question of where.
I do want to say that Brentford were very, very good as well.
Brentford were, Brentford. But I was going to say, actually, had Ange stayed at Forest, Chris Wood would have been a possible option, I think, for West Ham. But now you imagine, Crookie, that Chris Wood will be, if fit, straight back, leading the line for Sean Dyche.
I think he would have been one of the Forest players who was punching the air when Sean Dyche walked into the training ground earlier this week, because you're right, you just got the impression that he wasn't necessarily going to be an Ange Postecoglou type player. Obviously, he's worked under Sean Dyche before, and I do think that appointment is back to basics, really, as far as Forest are concerned. No longer are they trying to change and play a more expansive style of football. They're going to go back to soaking up possession, using their wide players to get crosses into the box for Chris Wood. So actually, fantasy league players out there, Chris Wood might not be a bad addition to your team in the coming weeks.
I don't know if it goes this way as well, but if it gets any worse at West Ham, someone like Jared Bowen, he seems to be carrying the team on his own a lot of the time. I know he's getting in trouble with his father-in-law, but he'd have enough of playing there, surely, wouldn't he? He'd be looking for a move.
Well, I don't think it's too outlandish to say that playing at West Ham is going to harm his chances of a place on the plane at the World Cup. I think if he was at Tottenham or Liverpool, for example, and playing well, I think he'd have much more opportunity of forcing his way into Thomas Tuchel's plans. And actually, even Jared Bowen seemed to get a bit bogged down by it all the other night. You know, he tried desperately to carry the fight on his own, but there's only so much you could do. And by the end of the game, his shoulders were slumped as well. But you're right, he's married to the club in more ways than one, isn't he, Jared Bowen?
I was going to say, if you want to upset Danny Dyer, don't sign for Spurs, whatever you do. Let's talk about Newcastle United. They've got this new head of sporting director, Ross Wilson, who came from Forest, didn't he? So what are his priorities?
Well, I think it's as much about tying players down to contracts, existing players, as it is about adding to the squad. I'm not sure they're going to be that busy, Newcastle, in January, but we hearing the news today that Sandro Tonali has signed a new contract. That happened in secret, actually, during his betting ban, so he's there at least until 2029. There's an option to keep him till 2030 as well, so Newcastle fans rejoicing at that news. The other two players that Ross Wilson, the new man in situ at the top, wants to tie down are Sven Botman, whose contract is up in 2027, and Tino Livramento, who's got an extra year. He's not up until 2028, but we know that Manchester City, among others, are looking at him. So Ross Wilson is going to try and get these deals done in the coming weeks, and certainly in the case of Botman, I think that should be quite a simple transaction.
Talk to us about Endrick at Real Madrid. You know, another incredibly talented player, but Real Madrid have a lot of them.
They do, and there's a few who might be on their way out, and Endrick is certainly one of them. I think somewhat reluctantly, because it's hard to leave a club like Real Madrid, but he wants to be playing for Brazil at the World Cup next summer, and he just isn't getting any game time there. There is interest from the Premier League. Real Madrid to West Ham is probably not a particularly desirable move at this moment in time, but certainly West Ham have shown interest in previous transfer windows. I mentioned Tottenham in the article because I think they're going to try and strengthen at the top end of the pitch in January. You look at their early season form, and it's pretty clear to me that while they've got some very good players in other areas of the pitch, they are lacking where it really matters in the goal-scoring department. He's still only 19, Endrick, and he sort of burst onto the scene as a wonder kid in Brazil. So I think he'll be a good pickup for someone, but it won't be cheap. Real Madrid, I'm told, would want a substantial loan fee, and also they would want his wages of around about 70 grand a week covered in full as well. But maybe the Premier League could be a destination for him.
Yeah, interesting Tottenham's attack, isn't it? Because they sort of have a lot of, and they're not all the same type of player, you know, Tell and Kolo Muani, and Richarlison. But yeah, you're right. Solanke not being available, I think for Frank is a real issue, because I think he would do exactly the job that Thomas Frank would want.
I mean, the perfect signing for me for Tottenham would be Ivan Toney. How easy it would be to get him out of Saudi Arabia because the financial issues there. Obviously, that was part of the reason that Steven Gerrard didn't take the Rangers job in the end. I don't know, but certainly someone who obviously is suited to Thomas Frank. I think Tottenham fans would absolutely love him, and I think he can still do a job in the Premier League. But as I say, I think that'd be a difficult deal to do.
A quick one on Norwich. Liam Manning's not going well there. Who Norwich got from Bristol City. They're having a really torrid time. 20th in the Championship, and might try and get Mark Robbins out of Stoke, which would be very tricky, I think.
Yeah, I do as well. Bearing in mind how loyal he was to Coventry, and there were undoubtedly numerous opportunities he had to leave the Sky Blues. But he is a Norwich legend, isn't he? He was in that team that finished third in the very first year of the Premier League, back when football was started, of course. And he was also in the team that beat Bayern Munich in the UEFA Cup as well. So I can see the emotional pull, and he's a good manager. He's proved that at Stoke. They're flying a lot higher than Norwich are in the Championship. The message I keep getting out of Norwich when I approach the club is that there's nothing to see here in terms of Liam Manning, but I think a lot of Norwich fans are starting to feel very different now. As you mentioned, they lost last night. They're in the relegation places in the Championship for the first time in something like 7 or 8 years, and this is a team I think at the start of the season had aspirations of a top 6 tilt. So I think a change is inevitable, and Mark Robins would certainly be one of their leading targets if he was willing to leave Stoke.
Interesting.
Good stuff, Crookie. Thanks for coming on.
Crookie.
Cheers, guys.
More on those. You can get Crookie's notebook. It's on the website, talksport.com. That day that Norwich beat Bayern Munich and Jeremy Goss scored that volley. What a hit that was. I broke my arm that day.
You broke your arm?
I remember it vividly. I broke my arm that day.
I've never broken a bone, Max. I judge people who have. I think they're weak.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Have you ever broken a bone, and are you tough? So yeah, I did. I was playing rugby. I didn't like rugby, and the whole scrum fell on me, and Mr. Toy said, "Can you wiggle your fingers?" I went, "Yeah," and he went, "Oh, it's good. It's not broken. Go and get changed."
All right.
So I got changed, and it was not comfortable. I'll be honest, getting that shirt off. But I'd been playing a game of swear words with James Swarbrick, where you just write down all the swear words you know. And when we got home, obviously my mum had to unpack my bag because I had a cast on. She found it, but because it was actually a good time for her to find that, because I had a cast on, there was a lot of sympathy.
So she felt sorry for you. All the swears.
So we didn't really go into it on the it's not a radio feature, Charlie, that we can do.
What, swear words?
I don't think. Do you want to play swear
Text
words?
Text us in swear words.
We'll put it on the podcast.
Yeah, great.
Anyway, it is Max and Charlie
auction.
with you until. Say again.
A swear auction. We start with the lowest level swear word people can think of, and we move up. So phone in.
Oh. Right, I see, and it's who dares to go. It's
how long the producer lets it carry on.
I'll start with balderdash, and you see where you see where you get. Bloody Nora, where are you going next, Charlie? Oh, do you know what? It's actually it's a really fun game, isn't it? Now, however you watch telly, you can now watch talkSPORT from Samsung and LG TVs to Fire TV, Chromecast, and Apple TV. Grab the app on Android TV and Google TV. We're on Prime Video, talkSPORT live on your screen as well as your speakers.
Challenge on talkSPORT with Hawksby and Jacobs. What critics are calling one of the many radio quiz segments happening this week. Paddy Power. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
Clearly, the last conversation is not helpful for the text board.
Absolutely
Mauricio
not.
says, can we have a top 40 swear words? But thank you so much to Andy and Falkirk. I cannot read that.
Can't read that out.
Have you read it? Have you read Andy and
Sean
Falkirk's,
from
Charlie?
Cannock. I don't think we
Yeah.
could even read that out unless we were discussing taking footballs onto the pitch in a sack.
Yeah. I mean, or bag. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
If you change bag for sack to try and make it better, Charlie,
James,
it doesn't
no,
really, it doesn't
we
really
can't read
work.
that one out. James, no, we can't read that one out either. But there we are.
You should have changed it not to sack. It's all I'm saying. In many ways, you made it worse. It's time now for Paddy's Challenge. Our quiz for charity in association with our friends, official betting partner, Paddy Power. We put our knowledge of the wonderful world of sport to the test with the chance of raising lots of cash for our nominated charities. I'm playing for the Sporting Memories Network. Charlie raising money for the Rowcroft Hospice, helping manage proceedings and ensure fair play. No Fletch today. So Ollie Klink has been promoted to the role. Welcome, Ollie.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
Very good indeed.
How's life? You excited about doing
what
this?
was your clinkety clink, wasn't it? Clinkety clink, clinkety clink.
It's a bit of a shame that hasn't been played actually, my little
No,
thing.
it's a shame, isn't it? I'm afraid.
Well, all right, if you can find it by the end of the bit, we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I mean, well, it's over to you now, isn't it?
Okay, yeah,
Ollie,
no
take it
worries.
away.
Well, in Paddy's Challenge, gents, you're going to be asked 3 multiple choice questions posed by the voice of Paddy Power, Alistair McGowan. The winner will be the player that scores the most points, and in the event of a tie, you'll both have the chance to raise some cash for your charities. It was a draw last week, and you both had selections to make. Max, you backed your Cambridge United to beat Bromley last weekend, and they did, 2-1.
Yeah.
And Charlie predicted that Arsenal would beat Fulham last Saturday, which they did, 1-0. So that's another 21 quid into the Sporting Memories pot and 15 quid for Rowcroft Hospice. So well done, guys. Let's see if we can raise some more cash for your charities this week. It is Charlie to go first.
Great.
So if you're ready to go,
always
a bit of tension music.
Abbey in Glasgow, we can't read that out, but thank you. Let's go. Keep going.
Oh, you definitely can't read that out, just so you know. Charlie, question 1. Harry Maguire's late header secured Manchester United's first away win. In fact, do you know what? I tried to do it then, but I'm nowhere near as good as Alistair McGowan. Or Fletch, apparently. So let's hear your first question.
Here he goes.
Harry Maguire's late header secured Manchester United's first away win over Liverpool in years. When did the Red Devils last win at Anfield? A. January 2016. B. January 2017. Or C. January 2018.
I thought it was 16 years, so that's what? That's 70. B.
Oof. That's correct. It was A, Charlie, January 2016.
Times.
None of them were 16 years, though, Charlie.
No. My maths is not my strong point.
Liverpool have lost 4 games in a row for the first time since November 2014.
Okay.
Would you believe? Max.
Still think they win the league.
Hello.
Time for your first question.
Okay.
In the shortest Premier League reign of any permanent manager ever, Ange Postecoglou was sacked by Nottingham Forest last week after just 39 days in the job. This beats the previous unwanted record held by Les Reed, who managed which team for 40 days in 2006?
It's so
A.
easy.
Millwall. B. Crystal Palace. Or C. Charlton.
So easy.
C. Charlton.
Everyone knows.
1 point to Max.
Yeah, well
Thank you so
done,
much.
Well done, Max. So already
Obvious.
excuses coming in from Charlie Baker.
Just so bitter on a little quiz, Charlie.
No, he is fuming, I can say that. Postecoglou leaves Forest without a win in his first 8 games after succeeding Nuno in the dugout on September the 9th. Right, Charlie, time for your second question.
Thank you.
Erling Haaland's double against Everton last weekend helped Manchester City to second place in the Premier League and took his tally to how many league goals in just 8 games so far this term? A. 11. B. 10. Or C. 9.
11.
1 point to Charlie.
Oh, there he is.
Well
on
done,
the
Charlie.
score sheet. No problem with that question then. That's good. Yeah, they're good questions, aren't they, really? They've only been 3 instances of a player reaching double figures in the Premier League by their 8th appearance of a season, and they're all Erling Haaland. He is an absolute machine, isn't he? Right, Max, time for your second question.
Okay.
African nation Cape Verde qualified for the World Cup for the very first time last week. Which sea creature is the team named after? A. Dolphins. B. Sharks. Or C. Whales.
Oh, I don't know the answer. I will go A, Dolphins.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Is it the Sharks?
I don't know.
It is B, the Sharks. Wales is, of course, Wales. But yeah, don't know about the Dolphins. Cape Verde's Blue Sharks will represent the second smallest country to ever qualify for the World Cup. That's done on population. Do you know what the smallest one is? This isn't part of the quiz.
The World Cup.
Iceland, isn't it?
It is Iceland, Max.
Very good.
No further
Well
points, I'm afraid.
That's okay.
Right, it's 1-1. Charlie, time for your third question.
England captain Harry Kane scored his 400th club goal last weekend as his first half header helped Bayern Munich beat which team 2-1 in the Bundesliga? A. Borussia Dortmund, B. RB Leipzig, or C. VfB Stuttgart?
Stuttgart.
Nah, it was Dortmund, Charlie.
Yeah, Max is
I went
absolutely
for
right.
the one I thought they wouldn't put in, and it was the one.
You should have gone for the right answer.
Okay, quick game's a good game now. Ollie, just give me my question.
Come on, time for question 3 for Max.
In rugby, Hull Kingston Rovers recently won the Super League Grand Final, beating which team 24-6? A. Wigan Warriors, B. Leeds Rhinos, or C. Lee Leopards?
Come on, Max. We do.
Wigan Warriors.
Really guess. Very good. Well done. Very good.
Max wins!
Yeah, beautiful work there. Hull KR became only the 5th team to win a Super League Grand Final as they put in a stunning performance to beat Wigan Warriors at Old Trafford and complete the treble.
That was an easy question as well.
So Max,
that was easier.
Very, very well done. We'll see how you get on, and we'll reveal.
He has to pick.
You have to pick. You have to pick. Max.
You've got to do a bet,
Max. A bet, Max.
Oh, well, Cambridge away at Notts County. So that's not an easy game. I'll do Spurs to win in Monaco tonight.
Lovely.
Okay, there we go. We'll see how you get on and reveal the winnings next week. There we go.
That was it, Ollie Clink.
There we done.
Clinkety clink, clinkety clink, clinkety clink, clinkety clink, clinkety clink, clinkety clink.
That's this week's challenge in the book. Thanks to our friends at Paddy Power, 18+, BigGambleAware.org. And before we break, Charlie, we have a 2-word phone-in.
Yes.
The 2-word phone-in is this. Sean Dyche has just done his press conference. We haven't heard it. But if you would like to be Sean Dyche and do the first 2 words of the press conference after the break, we would just like that, please. We'd like
2 words.
The first 2 words that Sean Dyche, 2 words no more, that Sean Dyche says at his press conference. It's happened, but we haven't heard it. So, you know what you might say for your opening lines of a press conference. But the first 2 words that Sean Dyche will say, your chance to do a Sean Dyche impression on talkSPORT. Again, 03717 223344. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, lads. Oh, that's 3. Never call again.
Bursley-eyed.
I messed up my own phone.
03717 223344.
Yeah.
Paddy's Challenge on talkSPORT with Paddy Power. 18+, BigGambleAware.org.
So we're going to recreate the opening of the Sean Dyche Nottingham Forest press conference on the two-word phone in 03717 223344. I will just go, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sean Dyche, and then you begin the press conference. 03717 223344. Your best Sean Dyche impression, please. He's back in the Premier League, and we should celebrate that fact. 03717 223344. Two-word phone in coming up in just a second. Before that, Amelia has the sport.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Thanks, Max, and a very good afternoon. There's a job to be done. I'm not here just for a fun time. They're not the first few words, but they are the words of Forest's newest boss, Sean Dyche. He admits he takes great pride in becoming the club's manager, as he came through Forest's youth ranks in the late 80s when Brian Clough was in charge.
You know, you're walking down the river with the Del Boy running past you and the voice of Brian Clough in earshot, let's say, and all the legends that played at that time, and there were some top players, and you know, you're thinking you just want to put the shirt on, and then to round the circle and be here as manager is something quite big for me.
Dyche's first game in charge will be tomorrow when Forest take on FC Porto at the City Ground in the Europa League, and that's live on talkSPORT. Elsewhere today, after 4 defeats in a row, is it time for Arne Slot to switch things up and bench Salah for Liverpool's Champions League clash against Frankfurt later? talkSPORT's Danny Murphy reckons he will.
I've got a feeling he will, yeah. His lack of defensive effort has always been there. Because he's been given
but
a
the balance
license.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance, it's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end, to forgive him for that.
That game is live on talkSPORT with build-up beginning at 7 p.m. Meanwhile, Spurs are visiting Monaco, and that's live over on talkSPORT 2. Now, Sandro Tonali has agreed a new deal with Newcastle until the summer of 2029 with the option of an extra year. The agreement was reached in secret while he was serving his 10-month betting ban. And let's catch up with John Norman, who's in India for the Women's Cricket World Cup. How are England getting on against Australia, John?
They're doing well. 46 for 3, Australia, chasing 245. It looked like England were behind the game at the halfway stage, but they bowled so well. You feel that actually they're probably just about ahead of this game. Could have gone even better for England if Sutherland had been given LBW. Huge appeal, England reviewed, but the ball shown to be deflected off the bat onto the pad. So Sutherland and Mooney at the crease, 13 not out both. Australia 47 for 3, they need 245 to win.
Cheers, John. Thanks very much. There's loads more content on talkSPORT's Cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
A judge has lifted a ban on naming a teenager who stabbed a 15-year-old to death in the playground. And the government's one-in, one-out scheme has seen one already come back in. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
A mix of sunshine and showers this afternoon, but turning wetter and windier in the southwest.
What's the best goal, Andy?
Josimar.
Oh, lovely. Just one word needed.
Ian
is a Man City fan. What's the best year, Ian?
2012, Aguero!
Oh, never call again. Too many words. Don't use your phone again. Michael, throw your SIM card out of your phone. Throw it out the window. Drive over it. Burn your phone. Burn it. Michael, as a Preston fan, what's the best goal?
Poppycock.
What a great phone-in. Phone-in. So here we go with the two-word phone. The opening words of Sean Dyche's press conference. So here's how it'll work, Charlie.
Yeah.
I will give the name of the caller,
yeah,
and then I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sean Dyche. And then
they say two words, Max. 2 words.
2 words of Sean Dyche. Here we go. So for Eddie, the Arsenal fan, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sean Dyche.
Poppycock.
Oh.
He's back. Welcome back.
Poppycock guy from the trailer.
Ollie, the West Brom fan, please welcome Sean Dyche.
Only draw.
Only draw. Only draw, I think he said.
Phil, the Liverpool fan, please welcome Sean Dyche.
Launch it.
Oh, nice.
Excellent.
Dale, the Villa fan, please welcome Sean Dyche.
Any gravy?
Any gravy.
Any gravy is a great
Very
opening,
nice.
isn't it? David, the Liverpool fan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome new Nottingham Forest manager Sean Dyche.
Temporary post.
Kevin, the Liverpool fan in Pembrokeshire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sean Dyche.
I'm back.
Lee, that was more than one. Surely more than two words.
Didn't really know.
Didn't catch it.
Carry on,
That's
carry on.
fine.
It's very good.
Lee Dunfield. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Dyche.
Sure.
Lee, your moment.
Lee, this is it.
Matt, the Arsenal fan. We'll go to Matt, the Arsenal fan. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Dyche.
Here's Dicey.
Oh, lovely. Imagine if he did
And
open with that.
Andy, the Birmingham fan. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Dyche.
Respect.
Oh, both. Two respects.
Oh, lovely stuff. What a good phone in.
It's really good phone.
The phone in. Use your phone. Ring the phone. It's the telephone. Time for a phone call. Ring, ring, ring. Hyperbole. Intrigue. 2 words. Thoughts. Consideration. It's your time to shine. People saying their thing. Get on with it. You on the radio. Imagine that.
In the same way that, if you're not having a great day, if you just do an impression of Sean Dyche, it does make you
Cheers
feel
you up.
happier. And the same with Bob Bubka, the late, great Bob Bubka.
Of course.
Nothing more fun. That's your job, it's my job, by the way.
I wonder if he'll be the most imitated manager, Nottingham Forest manager, since Brian Clough. Because everyone used to have a go at young man. Everyone used to have a little go at Brian Clough. I don't kiss girls only if they score a goal.
But Ange as well. But Ange is like everyone does an Ange, so maybe that Forest just have that down pat. Anyway, these were the opening 2 words from Sean. Did I see if anyone got it? These were Sean's opening 2 words.
Welther.
Okay. If somebody had done that on the phone in, we'd go, that's rubbish.
That was a very good one.
You've ruined the phone in. Anyway, should we have a listen to a bit more of what he says? He's been speaking at his first press conference, says it's a bit like a homecoming.
Well, I just think, I was explaining on our own TV yesterday that, I've got a longer history with the club from an apprentice, which some people might know or they don't, from 87 to 90, apprentice young pro. And, you never think when you start off in them days, all I wanted to do was play in the first team. You're walking down the river with the Del Boy running past you and the voice of Brian Clough in earshot. Let's much thinking it's a yes before you speak to him, but things still have to be right, they're nowadays contracts and all that. But no, it's not about that. It's not about the past, I'm sure you'll know, I don't question other managers. Everyone has their own style. It's not an easy job. The club made a decision, and now it's for me to try and imprint my way of working and hopefully a successful way of working on the club. And that's my focus now.
I like it that they unveiled him in the museum and Steve Stone and Ian Wones involved. Are they going to get anyone? They're going to get the Paul McCartney
Gary
involved
Charles is there
because he sings "Mull of Kintyre."
Yeah.
They're going to get. Are they going to get like an old scarf from the 70s? Is he going to be the boot guy? What's happening?
They'll give him a green jumper. Give him one of Clough's green jumpers.
Wow, really good.
Surely
like a
get
tribute
that out
act.
of the
Do you say
museum.
it's going to be like a tribute act?
I know. I don't think so. I'm fascinated to see how it goes. The likelihood is they move away from relegation. They come mid-table, and he does just enough to keep his job and doesn't start well enough next year. And then Marinakis goes, I'm going to get Marco. So the thing is, Marco Silva has worked with Marinakis at Olympiacos. Marinakis really likes him, but he's not out of contract. But he's out of contract to the end of the season. Now, if you're Marco Silva, it does feel slightly. If I was Sean Dyche, be annoyed that 2 idiots from a radio station talking about him not keeping this job. But it's fascinating to know how well he has to do to get his second year. And I would love him to be really successful. I agree with him about pragmatism in playing football. I agree that you should, and he has had to work. You have to cut your cloth accordingly, right, with the players that you have, and you have to play sensible football. And Nuno played pretty defensive football for Forest, but they won loads of games, so it was really exciting. And when you break quickly, it's not boring. It's good. He had Elanga and Hudson-Odoi playing really well, Chris Wood scoring lots of goals, and you've got a good midfield. You've got Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White. These are really good footballers. I think the centre-backs will be delighted, who played very deep with Nuno, and then Ange said, could you stand on the halfway line? And they go, I don't want to have to turn around and sprint after people.
If you're Morgan Gibbs-White, you must have been thinking, I didn't move to stay here, and I didn't move I didn't move to Spurs to stay here, and
Yeah,
we're losing
and
a
now
lot.
Yeah.
And I
It's
might
true.
lose my England place because of this. You know, I want to say to you, Max, and I think you'll agree with me. My main reason for always wanting Nottingham Forest to do well is for Matt Ford, who's a friend of both of us, and used to be on talkSPORT as well, and often visits. And mainly because he's been, seriously ill in the last few years with cancer, and he's spoken about it beautifully and with a lot of positivity. And I know he spoke on Twitter the other day, and I sent it to you, and I said, well, here's a bit of perspective if you've got anything to moan about. He's about to have another operation, and he talked about the operation in great detail, and you can find it on the socials as well. So all I ever want is for Forest to do well, so Matt Ford has a happy time when he watches football, because he's such an impressive human being and talks about his health and his physical and mental health so beautifully.
I totally agree. And actually, really just taking away a lot of the stigmas that come with things that people don't like to talk about.
Yeah, like stomas and colostomy bags and all those sorts of things, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we all send our love to Matt Ford as well, because he's having another operation this week, isn't he? And fingers crossed that all goes well. But you're right, no one is more optimistic about football than him. We should get him to go to Canada, Mexico and the States for the World Cup and just be an England fan for talkSPORT. Apparently Darren Bent does a good Sean Dyche.
Oh, good.
And we can hear it. I don't know if is it just him sounding like it, or does he actually just?
I wonder if it is.
Does he do an impressions bit on?
I can't imagine Darren Bent doing one good impression. So if this is the one,
here it is. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, right. It's got to,
That's not bad. That's
not
pretty
bad,
good. I've
is
heard
it?
worse.
I need a bit more.
I've heard worse.
I like him to do a bit more.
Josh, got a big team in that.
He's alongside Andy Goldstein, of course. Which
sounds like Selma from Patty and Selma from The Simpsons.
Yeah, right. It's got to,
does a bit, but then Sean Dyche does a bit, I guess,
exactly.
doesn't he? So listen to those guys at 4 with Drive, please. This is Rushden Baker on talkSPORT in partnership with Tool Station. Get winter ready with heating and insulation essentials. Next stop, Tool Station.
Josh, we've got to pick the team in that.
Good interplay again inside the penalty area. And it's two. And Salah tiptoes his way through.
Arne Slot's lost 4 games in a row in charge of Liverpool. That doesn't happen very often.
Long ball forward into the area. Batshuayi!
I think they've the quality to be the next best team that are not Bayern in the Bundesliga.
Eric Dyer from the penalty spot has drawn Monaco Neville.
Kudus comes back in on his left foot, draws the ball down low to the left and produces a brilliant finish.
Clearly want to attack, clearly want to create, but we need to be able to get clean sheets. We need to do that.
In comes the corner, it's flicked on at the near post and Joao Pedro is there to head it in. Rolls into the area along the deck. It's in! It's in! Brilliant by Val Beckhoff!
It's a club that in the past, in the present, they always try to play their kind of football, so for sure it will be a difficult game.
Some people, Charlie, what's nice about the two-word phoning is that, firstly, it's fun to do impressions. And Matt tweeted one word, sausages. So I just started saying sausages. But obviously, the people in the behind the glass were just hearing me say sausages.
Just constantly just hearing you. It's like bomb. It's like you were singing during the news the other day, wasn't it?
Sausages. Woke nonsense, says Muse Lover. And then the Sizzler's been in touch. He regrets saying launch it. He said, I should have said woke nonsense instead of launch it.
Well, you chose what you chose. You did what you did. You can't go back now. Yeah. The two-word is the two-word.
Yeah, you live or
Choose
die.
Choose your two words wisely.
Your 2 words. So Frankfurt, Liverpool on talkSPORT, Monaco Spurs talkSPORT 2. We'll keep you across Chelsea, Ajax as well tonight. Let's talk to former Chelsea defender Scott Minty. Hi, Scott.
Hello, Scott.
Afternoon, chaps. How are we?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, very
Scott,
good, thank you. All sort of clicking for Chelsea, would you say, at the moment?
I think the game against Liverpool was a fantastic performance, even if they'd have drawn. But to get that last-minute winner going into the break was... Well, it was superb. I think Chelsea got away with it, really, against Nottingham Forest. I think any big team against a smaller team is vulnerable straight after an international break or a difficult away game in the midweek of a Champions League. Wasn't quite sure of the team selection, especially in midfield, but I think Enzo Maresca was certainly, again, thinking about the international break. And Forest had, the better of it and the better quality chances in the first half. But Chelsea were clinical in the second. Bang, bang, game over. And in the end, it wasn't a great performance, but it was 3 very good points. And as you say, back-to-back victories and hopefully another one tonight and then another one at the weekend.
It was almost like the Chelsea players really wanted Ange to stay. The amount of times they gave Forest the ball in the first half, wasn't it?
It's like, go on.
Do you know what? It was a little bit one of those, wasn't it? And again... I can only sort of, try to begin to say how difficult it is for players coming off those difficult midweeks where perhaps they've had a lot of travelling, they haven't slept particularly well. But yeah, it was almost a question of, go on, Forest. We know Ange needs a victory here. We'll at least give you a goal. But, how many chances did they have, both first and second half? And yet still couldn't score. So Chelsea in the end just said, OK, if you're not going to score, we're going to do it.
A few red cards knocking about this season. Scott, do you think there's a disciplinary thing or do you think it's just they're playing with passion?
No, there's definitely, Charlie, a disciplinary thing. What I would put it down to is youth and a lack of experience and perhaps not knowing. Look at that one at the weekend with Malagusto, who, for me, it defies logic, to be honest with you. And I think what it was, again, trying to put myself into his shoes as to why he would have done something like that when you're 3-0 up. They're on the halfway line. They're not even going to a goal-scoring opportunity. And even though they were, you kind of let them go when you're on a yellow card. I think he was just tired. I think when you're tired, you make bad decisions, split-second decisions mentally. But that's something which, if Chelsea don't sort out, if Maresca doesn't sort out, then it definitely can come back to bite them later in the season.
I've been tired since, for the last 4 years because of children.
You can't talk to Scott Minto about being tired because you got triplets, haven't you, Scott? Or they're 3 under 5 or something crazy like that.
We had 3 in 16 months.
Yes,
yeah.
You fool.
3 in 16 months.
You fool, Scott.
It was all me, nothing to do with the missus.
Mars, that's insane. 300. I don't even know how that works. Anyway, I find Chelsea. I find Chelsea impossible to work out, Scott. I mean, no idea. I know they've got the same number of players as everyone else, but they seem to bring on people I've never heard of every week. and maybe I was saying on Sunday to Barry, I'm full up of footballers. It's happened.
And now you've not even got Cole Palmer at the moment to cling on to.
That's right.
So, I mean, but it's hard, Scott, because I just can't work out. They've clearly got some brilliant footballers. At times they really click, but it's just so hard to kind of work out what their identity is.
Well, I think you can see what Maresca's trying to do. I mean, he's trying to deal with how many players are coming and going on a regular basis. And actually, after 3 years, it does look like there's a pretty good squad. But the reason why I say, and I understand why people turn around and say, but they spent £1.5 billion. How can you not be chasing the Champions League and the Premier League? But if you look specifically at the squads, it's not strong enough in the spine of the side. You know, it's not old enough. It's not experienced enough. And they're gaining experience together as a team. What I don't want Chelsea to do now, and obviously I've been talking about, you know, trying to get that sort of goalkeeper and maybe even almost a Thiago Silva type centre-half. And then I'll start talking about them as going for Premier League. But there's still, you know, last season was Europa Conference League. They finished fourth. Not many predicted that at the start of the season. They won their Club World Cup and they out PSG, where they were absolutely sensational. But then to combine the Premier League and the Champions League still for the first season, as we've seen recently for Premier League sides, it's very difficult to then say, well, you've got to make it even better in the Premier League. So that's why I take fourth, a domestic cup, and a semi-final of the Champions League right now.
And that's tough if you're Maresca, isn't it? It must be quite frustrating if you think, in 3 years' time, this could be an absolutely incredible squad. I wonder if I'll be here to see it.
Well, I think him and 19 other Premier League managers are probably thinking the same thing in terms of whether they'll be around in another 3 years.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. You know, the way that the owners have come in, it's been a complete change shift from how Roman Abramovich was, where it's all about the here and now. And senior world-class ready-made players, where it's almost the opposite for Enzo Maresca. And that's why I always back him. I do question some of his decisions. I question some of his team selections. I question some of his substitutions.
Yeah.
But I think overall, he's done an exceptional job with coming in at what was the hornet's nest at that particular time at Chelsea. So I just want things to settle down, you know, get that kind of... I think Robert Sanchez has done a lot better in the last 6 months, but I'm still not sure he's a Premier League goalkeeper winner. So I'd like to see that, a centre-half, and I genuinely think if this team can stick together, then they won't be a million miles away in the next year or two.
Interesting goings on for quite a lot of your former clubs, and because, you know, ex-pros are only contractually allowed to talk about clubs they played for. So you certainly couldn't possibly talk about a side that you didn't play for. You wouldn't understand the question. But, you know, Benfica with Jose, West Ham struggling. But look, Charlton, and you played for Charlton for years, you know, almost 200 appearances for them. Like, big win for them last night, into the playoffs. Nathan Jones doing a brilliant job there at the Valley.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. And I mean, I sort of did a lot of TV stuff with Charlton in the third tier, and trust me, it was tough. It was a tough watch, and we earned our money with Alan Kirbishley and Stevie Brown as well. So what Nathan did coming in, first of all, because there was a worry that they might even go down to the fourth tier, and he made sure that didn't happen, and then obviously, you know, cracked on. And I think what he is, he makes them very difficult to beat. Last year in the League One, including the playoff final as well, where Leyton Orient were probably the better side, there was a brilliant stat where they went ahead 30 times in the season. They won 29 of those games and only drew one. So that first goal, absolutely crucial. And again, what they did last night and what they're doing at the moment, I hope Ajax fans are not sort of suggesting that absolutely it's got to be top six or it's suddenly a disappointing season, but it's been a brilliant start from Nathan and the boys.
Slightly disappointing that the way you described the third tier there as two fans who actually dream to have their sides in the third tier.
A dream of tier four. A dream of tier four.
Yeah,
every day of my life, I'm thinking, one day we'll be back in the league. One day. I won't have to go to Tonbridge Angels.
I know the Cambridge games. I remember them well. And, and obviously it's Torquay, isn't it, Charlie?
It is, Scott. Yeah, it is, Scott.
Yeah, you'll get back there, mate.
We will. We'll be back. We'll be back.
They might not. I mean, there's every chance.
There is every chance, but I believe. I believe.
But the dream is there. Cambridge almost got to the Premier League once. It can happen again. Cheers, Scott. Have a good afternoon.
Cheers, guys. You too.
Scott.
Scott Minto there, talkSPORT presenter. We'll keep you covered on Chelsea Ajax tonight. Commentary on Eintracht Frankfurt, Liverpool on talkSPORT, Monaco Spurs on talkSPORT 2. And we'll do more EFL with Simon Watts in just a second.
A wonderful attitude to work hard for the team. talkSPORT's Danny Murphy echoes Mikel Arteta's comments that Victor Gyökeres makes Arsenal better.
He's one of those players that if you speak to centre-halves, they'll say after a game, that was tough. Because he doesn't stop running in behind. He'll fight you.
Gyökeres ended a 9-game dry spell in the win over Atletico Madrid. Elsewhere, Liverpool need to break a hoodoo of their own live on talkSPORT tonight. Lose at Frankfurt, and it'll be the first time since 1953 they've lost 5 in a row. Danny also thinks Slot will leave Mo Salah on the bench.
His lack of defensive effort has always been there. Because he's been given
But
a
the balance
license.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance. It's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end to forgive him for that.
Speaking of big stars, will Florian Wirtz ever live up to his price tag? It's not just Liverpool fans who are concerned by his form or lack of it. German football broadcaster Konstantin Eckner says national team fans are worried too now.
Didn't really play a great game against Northern Ireland recently in the World Cup qualifiers, which was surprising, especially right now. Jamal Musiala is injured, so Florian Wirtz is the centerpiece of Germany's attacking midfield, but he didn't really play that well.
And does Harry Maguire deserve a new contract at Man United? Gabriel Bonlahor says 100% yes.
If anyone deserved that winning goal on the weekend against Liverpool, it was Harry Maguire. In his mind as well, he'd be thinking, I want to get back in the England squad.
There's more at talksport.com.
This text says, has Max finally gone through puberty? His voice seems a lot deeper today.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone from sounding like Joe Pasquale to Barry White. He's got a bit of bronchitis.
It's hanging around, isn't it, Max? But it sounds good. You sound good.
Yeah, I think so.
You sound like you could. No, the shipping forecast. I'd like to hear you saying that sort of thing. You get that sort of work.
Really good. Well,
not
you
like
know
the
my...
not like the Gaviscon good old days, you know.
Well, that's when I became the voice of CNN.
Oh,
I told you this story.
Yeah, I've heard that story, yeah.
Yeah,
that £6 peach, the microwave.
Barry said on Sunday, never say, I don't know if I've told you this story. I've only got 6 seconds to say it. This is CNN with Hala Garani. Here's a chance to win TalkSport's biggest cash prize ever as you play
they love
to win.
that on here, on this broadcasting outlet that you're saying, this is another broadcasting outlet. I bet they love that.
We're not really direct rivals with CNN, are we? I mean, look, we're ambitious here, but you know, let's know our place. Anyway, your chance to win up to £100,000 completely tax-free. Plus, you get to visit TalkSport Towers on the 13th of November to play for that incredible cash prize. Here is how to enter. Listen carefully.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a TalkSport limited promotion run on TalkSport, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
All right, let's do a bit of EFL with EFL expert Simon Watts. Hello, Simon. How are you?
Yeah, good. You were chatting about Charlie and whether his voice was finally broken. So,
not me. No.
I'm
Max.
still waiting. Max, is it? Yeah, Max, I was going to say, I'm still waiting.
All right,
I'm still
okay.
waiting.
Oh, you sound
One
great.
day it'll happen. It'll be an exciting moment for you. Hello, you'll be like this. Hello. We had when I've told this story before, but it's good. Cambridge United went up from Division 3 to Division 2 in '91. And the commentator for the goals video was called Owen Nurse, and he was about 13 years old, and his voice broke mid-season. So just halfway through the season, it went to Wrexham away, and it was, all the goals were, and Dion Dublin scores, and then one week it was corner for United. It was really, really good.
Some of the greatest 90s nostalgia on YouTube is those in-house club commentaries. Remember there was the guy when Bolton won 7-0 and started crying during the commentary.
To hear that.
They played it on the Fantasy Football League programme or something. Yeah, love that.
Beautiful. Let's come slightly up to date. Look, we talked about Charlton being really good. You covered this game last night, but from an Ipswich perspective, and it's really interesting the sides that have gone down. Leicester as well lost last night as well, didn't they? That none of them are really flying.
No, absolutely not. And I think most people kind of expected, certainly when it came to Leicester City, there to be a little bit of a drop-off at the start just because the manager came in so late in pre-season. But in the case of Ipswich, I think most people had them down as the favourites to go up this year because they kept the bulk of their squad together. Yeah, Liam Delap left, but they invested quite heavily. And, the matches I've seen of them this season, they haven't played too badly. But Charlton have been a breath of fresh air at the promoted teams this season because so much focus has been on Wrexham and Birmingham City coming up from League One. But Charlton have gone through and kind of gone underneath the radar under Nathan Jones, experienced manager at this level, spent vastly fewer amounts of money than the two other teams who came up. But a 3-0 win at Portman Road last night, absolute, real standout result. And they've had some good results against other teams well early in the season. I think they beat Leicester early on too. So it's been a great start to the season. Yeah, I was doing the Derby Norwich game actually, and that was a totally different thing at the other end of the table, but just a real bad period of time, bad night for the teams on East Anglia at the minute.
Yeah, how long?
Yeah, I mean, Liam Manning really struggling at Norwich, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And, on the one hand, I feel for him because, it was only 18 months ago that Norwich supporters wanted David Wagner out. They got into the top 6. They didn't like the style of football they were playing. They bring in a young sporting director, Ben Napper, who brought in a young manager, Johan Hofborup, a very young squad, finished mid-table, playing better football last season, but it still cost him his job. And then they bring in Liam Manning this summer, who had history of playing football and getting Bristol City into the playoff places. But it has just gone so horribly wrong this year. 6 straight home defeats. It was their 4th defeat in a row last night. I've got to say, it was one of those classic games, and I'm sure you've seen it with Torquay Derby and with Cambridge, where, they absolutely dominated the first half, but they didn't score and they go and lose the game 1-0. And that really was the kind of game last night. They just could not lose. So it's one of those today where I'm looking and I kind of keep refreshing every couple of hours my social media feeds to see if he's gone, because the fans really aren't happy. I do kind of feel, though, the problem is beyond Liam Manning there at the moment. And maybe, they've been through such a long period of stability. Manning needed time to get it right at Bristol City, and he did. He needs maybe another transfer window to make this squad his own, but we all know how football works. He's not going to get that if he doesn't start getting results.
Yeah, someone who's doing incredibly well is Frank Lampard at Coventry City. Do you think he has to hope that a couple of the managers in the Premier League really sort of pull their finger out a bit so no one comes in and try and swoops in for him? Do Coventry City fans need to think that?
Yeah, maybe. Although, you know what? I feel like Frank Lampard is really, really invested in this project.
Yeah.
This is the first job, I would say, apart from when he was Derby manager, where he seems really happy on the touchline. In other jobs, he seemed very stressed out at Chelsea and Everton. But, he's put together, built on a really good team that was there already under Mark Robbins. And, they're absolutely flying. So why would you want to leave at the moment? Really?
At Derby would bring in quite a lot of Chelsea under-20s, under-21s, wouldn't he, and youth team players. Has he gone into that pool at all, Simon, or is he just using his own thoughts?
Yeah, what I found really interesting, I think we talked about this at the weekend, actually. He's coached the set of players. So Brandon Thomas-Asante scored a couple of goals last night. It's a prime example. This is a player that they got from West Brom. West Brom signed him from Salford City. He's worked his way up through the leagues, and he has just been coached. And Mark Robbins deserves a lot of credit as well, because, he's getting the numbers in front of goal now. Haji Wright had real purple patches, but then would go a number of games without scoring. He's been flying this season. He's become a really important part of the USA squad as well, under Mauricio Pochettino. So they've got a very, very good core of players that he inherited there. You've got midfield players coming in and literally scoring Lampard-like goals on the edge of the box like they did at the weekend, which he says, they work on the training ground at this. So I think there's a combination as well. They're looking really good at the minute. I do think that there really isn't a standout challenger for them at the moment from maybe those teams who were relegated that we're talking about, which has helped because they're 5 points clear already at the moment. But, absolutely no doubt about it. You look at the number of goals they're scoring as well. I think the first time in 6 they conceded last night, but there's still 1-2-1 at Pompey.
Yeah, a bit of a fracas with John Mousinho, him and Lamps.
You know what? I love in modern day football when things like this happen, because often players get accused of being kind of, not enough character and things like that. But, this was quite spectacular. John Mousinho, I remember him at Oxford, is normally a pretty level-headed guy, but he was absolutely fuming basically at the decision that Pompey didn't get a penalty in the first half, and started talking to the fourth official. Frank Lampard took exception to it. And, this kind of continued through most of the first half. The two managers were kind of at it all the time. Frank Lampard was asked afterwards what was said between them, and he said he couldn't really repeat it, but basically kind of accused John Mousinho of getting in the fourth official's ear. But I'm all for this kind of thing, really. It's all part of the touchline drama, isn't it? These are two still relatively young English managers desperate for success. So it's good to see, I reckon.
Well, there's a lot of sit down.
Yeah, all right. Okay, we'll see. Look,
Millwall and Hull both doing really well, Simon.
Yeah, when you think that Hull came into this season under an embargo and they only missed out on relegation last season on the final day, it's been amazing, really. A lot of people were feeling like it was quite unfair when they got rid of Ruben Sayers as manager at the end of the season. For Millwall, though, 5 straight home victories. Now, they beat a Stoke City team who were third in the table going into this game, a Stoke City team who had the best defensive records in the Championship, and they could have scored more. They were really, really dominant in every area of the pitch. I think the biggest obstacle will be keeping everybody fit. He's conceded himself. Alex Neil's not working with the biggest squad in the division, but when he's got the best players available to him fit, they'll do well. Massimo Luongo, who's been, a very important, experienced midfield player, got injured at QPR at the weekend. He's out for the rest of the season. They need to avoid that happening. But, as we know, Millwall is a tough team at home. And, this is a manager, I think, Alex Neil, is kind of built in the grain of manager that they tend to like at Millwall. And he's got them solid and he's got them performing well.
Simon, always good to chat. Thanks for coming on,
Simon.
Cheers.
Let's go to John Norman watching England take on the Aussies in the cricket. And look, we thought Australia had this in their hands, but actually England are doing quite well.
They are indeed. 94 for 4 Australia. They need 245 to win the game. And this is a really keenly fought encounter between two sides who are unbeaten in the tournament so far. England really stuttered after quite a quick start to their innings. Tammy Beaumont top scoring with 78. Alice Capsey weighing in with 38 as well. But at the halfway stage, 244 for 9 seemed 20 or 30 short, especially when you're coming up against such a juggernaut that is the Australian women's cricket team. They are almost unbeatable on their day, but, well, they're looking and showing signs of fallibility, because England have struck 4 times, and they struck early. Lauren Bell with an absolute peach of a delivery to dismiss Phoebe Litchfield first up. That really set the tone. Lindsay Smith, who has been a revelation in this tournament so far, picking up 2 quick wickets as well, to go with one from Sophie Eccleston. So Annabelle Sutherland and Ashley Gardner at the crease, and Australia need a partnership. They've got a little one, it's about 30 for the 5th wicket, unbeaten, but they're still quite far off. 245 the target for Australia. 22 overs in, they're 97 for 4.
Thanks, John. Tim writes, enough of football. What I want to know, does anyone else like stale crisps? Wotsits are the best. When I get a pack that has a split in it, I'm so happy. So juicy, but not mouldy. Walker's doesn't work. Knick-Knack, Skips, Monster Munch, etc. works so well. Come on, Tim, stop being silly. We're trying to have a serious sports programme.
Why don't you talk about sport
Goodness
for once,
sake.
Tim?
Go and listen to our sister station, Talk Crisps.
I love Talk Crisps. I love Big Hoops.
Who are your hosts?
What, crisp hosts? Can't think. You've sprung it on me.
Someone famous called Crispin would certainly be on breakfast, wouldn't they? Well, look, we'll see.
Sean,
the break.
Sean, the producer, is suggesting Derek Pringle, which is excellent, and we won't get better.
Derek Drive with Derek Pringles. Oh, it also brings it back to sport as well.
The trouble is, it's a very long show, because once he pops, he can't stop. So that's it. It's just constantly. There we are. Yeah.
All right. Well, you got 5 minutes for that.
Knack. Someone.
Okay, fine. Anyway, Stephen Caulker will join us in just a second. We'll look ahead to the Spurs and Liverpool games, unless he has like 10 really good crisp puns.
Crisp stuff,
and then we'll do those instead.
An ugly victory, but a victory nonetheless. It finishes Tottenham 1, Villarreal 0.
They'll struggle to get out of the Champions League group phases playing like this. They have to raise the level.
We are not 100% clicking.
This is going to be a shocking night for Spurs. Bodigan 2, Spurs 2.
This is the biggest club competition on the planet, and he's never been a part of that, so of course there's going to be a few nerves there.
Spurs still don't have enough in that squad for now. Thomas Frank, he might be a little bit too negative.
Eric Dyer from the penalty spot has drawn Monaco Neville. Monaco 2, Manchester City 2.
We know we need to trust what we do, keep improving, do we can to win the game. It's clearly we want to attack, it's clearly we want to create, but we need to be able to get clean sheets. We need to do that.
Just the crisp lineup for Talk Crisp, our sister station. Hernan Crispo, Chris Akabusi, Oliver Skips, Chris Packham, Des Walker, Alan Smiths, Gary Lineker, of course, Kevin Blake and Fries.
Lovely.
Talk Scratchings, AP McCoy on game day warm-up. And Griff from King's
do
Lynn.
well at the go-get-it, AP McCoy.
Yeah. Griff from King's Lynn, long-time listener. Do you actually get paid? Just ask. And let's talk to Stephen Caulker, former Liverpool and Spurs defender, now playing out in Iceland. Look ahead to these games in the Champions League. Hey, Stephen.
Hello, Stephen.
Hi, good afternoon, guys.
Nice to have you on again. Should we start with Liverpool then? Obviously, 4 defeats in a row is, for a club of that size, a mini crisis. Do you see them halting that tonight?
Hopefully. I mean, it's been a month since their last victory against Southampton in the Cup. So I'm sure the boys will be absolutely desperate to get a result and start to turn momentum, because 4 losses in a row is not good for any club, especially of that size. And I think Arne Slot obviously had a fantastic first season, but this year they're not playing so well. That's probably been the biggest concern. Of course, everyone will point towards the results, and rightly so. But even in the games they were winning at the start of the year, I don't feel like they were playing as well as what we saw last year. So something's not quite clicking at the moment.
In your dressing room, Stephen, when it's starting to go like that, and you can feel it's the momentum going that way, what happens with the players? Do they come together, or do they lean on the manager, or what? Where does the blame lie with the players?
I think there's all. I mean, mostly they'd be looking to get out. No one wants to point fingers at that point. So early on in the season, I think it's a case of finding solutions. So I've been involved in many of those situations where the team's not performing well, and at times the players come together. We'll have a players meeting, staff outside, bring the boys in, sit down, look what's going on, what can we do. Sometimes it could be a night out. It's probably different today. It wouldn't be a night out. It might be paintballing and go-karting or something of that type. But something away from the football, away from the pressure, and just enjoying time together. And other times it is the coach coming in and having a long sit down and going through things. But I tend to think in moments like this, it's not so much about the analysis. It's about getting everyone together, getting that winning feeling back, that feeling of being together and enjoying each other's company, because any player or ex-player would tell you when you're not winning, it's a horrible feeling, So it'd be important for them today to, as I said, to get a result. And it is, in my opinion, a winnable game, a game that they should win.
Yeah, I'd like the idea of, just saying to Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz, listen, we're going paintballing because we think this could work. You've got to bond in a way. And I'm fascinated about that. The staff go out, you shut the door, and then what? The skipper says, lads, why are we useless? Yeah. And then what? If people have it out and say, I think you're rubbish and you're rubbish, or is it a bit more of a positive conversation?
It's normally a lot more positive than that. But people, it is a clear the air chat, absolutely. And sometimes, depending on who you've got in the dressing room, things can get a little bit heated. But generally speaking, these chats are what we're basically saying as players is, look, it's not about the tactics right now. It's not about what goes on, whether we do this formation, that formation. It's something with us right now that's not quite clicking. Let's clear the air, and there may be one or two things that come out of that conversation that may be reported back to the manager if needs be, if it is a case of giving a day off or this, that, and the other. But most of the time, it's something that's handled internally amongst the senior players, the captain obviously leading the way, and most of the time you go and get a result, and that's nice. Once you've had that pull together and then you start to turn things around, it's nice. But I don't think it's a major crisis. Let's call this a mini crisis for Liverpool.
Spurs play Monaco. A bit of chat about, Spurs this season, it's like they've got to a stage where the next win would get them into second and be excited. Then they lost to Bournemouth. Same again, they would have been second if they'd beaten Villa, and they didn't. And there's a bit of worry about sort of how much creativity there is. There's a lot of pressure on, I guess, Xavi Simons, given there's no Maddison and no Kulusevski.
Spurs are driving me crazy right now, I have to be honest. Like, we have a little fantasy football thing going on with the staff here in Iceland, and every week I'm like, right, Spurs are going to win this one, they're going to win this one, and it's like, it somehow goes wrong. It's just a real lack of inconsistency at the moment, because I'm really liking Spurs under Thomas Frank. I think they're playing some good football, and to highlight the best performance I've seen from Spurs is Man City away. I thought they went toe-to-toe with Man City and beat them convincingly, but where they're at right now is just, it's uncomfortable, because you're never quite sure what Spurs team are going to turn up, and I just think there's quite a bit missing. So Thomas Frank will be desperate to get that consistency back in the side.
Yeah, I agree. It sort of feels like it's kind of fine, and that isn't terrible. Like, you have a short memory. It wasn't great last year. I know they won the Europa League, but you just want to see, like, in that midfield, you just want to see a bit more of a spark, a bit more creativity. And also, they do miss Solanke up front, right? They've got lots of players who are kind of okay up front. Richarlison, Tell, Kolo Muani hasn't really hit the ground running yet.
Yeah, Richarlison always, for me, pops up important goals, and he gives the team a lot, because he's a fighter. He's a real fighter, and he'll go toe-to-toe with anyone and press and chase them down. And, he's got a spirit in him that I love to see, and I love to see him on the pitch. But you mentioned Simmons. Of course, he's an unbelievable talent who hasn't quite got firing just yet. But I think Spurs they've shown that they're a good side. It's now showing, can they be a really, really good side? And I think, the home form is probably where they've struggled the most. Obviously home draws to Wolves and then losing to Bournemouth and Villa. So, tonight they're away from home. They're in the Champions League against a good Monaco side. But again, a side that I believe that if Spurs are at their best tonight, they can certainly win.
Good stuff, Stephen. Thanks for coming on.
Stephen.
Appreciate your time.
Have a great afternoon.
Stephen Caulker there. And that's it for us. What a lovely show, Charlie.
Great show.
You were
Lovely
great.
show, Max.
I was great. We're all great. Listen to the Champions League tonight. Frankfurt, Liverpool on talkSPORT. Monaco Spurs on talkSPORT 2. Andy Goldstein, Darren Bent next with Drive.